All right, so good morning and welcome to another week of great opportunities. But like I always say, it is only the prepared ones who will take advantage of it. Good morning and welcome to the AM show. Now, today, this is how the show will be. We'll begin with the news review. And as usual, today being a Monday morning, we'll be joined by the Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa, Swalla Abdullah, as our guest on the news review segment, and then we'll make way for Swalla Abdullah to bring us latest from the world of sports, and then we'll take you to our big stories. Now today we have a one-on-one with the President of the National House of Chiefs, or Jiahoho Yaojibi II. Now, what are the issues in our chieftaincy institution that need solving? We'll be delving into all of those issues with him here on the show. Now, the Forest and the Siege is also one documentary that Erastus Asaridonko has put together with focus on the Pamproma forest. Why are people still mining in the forest reserve when the president put a ban on that? Now, we'll bring you that particular interaction as well as a lead up to the documentary later today at 8:30. And then I will bring you the weather update as well. Now, it's been raining heavily throughout the Ghana for the past 72 hours. Should we expect more? We'll hear from the Ghana Meteorological Agency. And then we'll open it up for you to have your say from 9:35. The show is being planned with you in mind, so your thought is very much appreciated. We'll open the phone line so that you can join us with your thought here. And that's how the show will be. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. On behalf of the team, I say welcome. AM News is up next. Hello, good morning, and let's bring you AM News now. Former President John Mahama has accused President Akufo-Addo and his government of piling the judiciary with judges sympathetic to the New Patriotic Party. Mr. Mahama insists the current government has deliberately and consciously appointed their cronies to the second arm of government. Speaking at the closing ceremony of the third annual Lawyers Conference of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, on Saturday, September 2, he said the party has done this to help them avoid accountability when they are out of office. According to him, there are about 80 of such judges in the system, and the number may cross to 100.
Currently, the judiciary is packed with NPP inclined judges because this government has carried out a deliberate policy of putting their people on the bench. It's more than 80 towards 100 and counting. He's packed the courts, and we know that they've packed the courts because they want to avoid accountability after they have left office. And so all manner of people who are known to have been partisan, who have been executives of their party, who are in the legal profession, are being leapfrogged into the superior courts and other places. We must be prepared as NDC legal persons to also go onto the bench so that we can balance out, the judicial. And so I encourage some of you to look at careers on the bench so that we can balance out what the current situation is.
Now, the minority in Parliament is insisting that its planned Occupy BOG demonstration poses no security threat to the public. The NDC MP say the Ghana Police Service is thus applying the Public Order Act injuriously. This is according to Boko Central MP Mahama Ayariga. The caucus will oppose the injunction application on Monday. He added that the police has demonstrated bad faith as they have been engaging them throughout their plan for the protest. He was speaking on Newsfile.
The conversation should be looked at dispassionately to say that the essential spirit of demonstration is not hurt by saying go here. If that is a conversation, we should look at it. Now, the decision of the demonstrators to want to go to a particular destination and the position of the police saying that maybe it might be a security zone, and the headquarters, if you've been there recently, I think we all know where it's at, is a very crowded place. And so for me, and we're beginning to see an instance where the police is trying to manage the crowd situation and to prevent unforeseen situations happening.
The fact that it's already a crowded place,
right,
does not defeat their arguments.
Well, you couldn't possibly avoid the organic crowd that is there, but this one you can prevent it, right? So that's really the logic there. But I think that if on whole, we are going to understand that, okay, well, for certain reasons, we can designate that Independence Square as the converging point for all demonstrations.
You'll be fine with that?
I'll be okay with it, but the only thing is that it has to be consistent. And in doing that, Samson, I think you agree with me, it doesn't take away the inherent value and right of citizens to demonstrate, but it is only helping the police manage the unintended outcomes of crowd coming together and possibilities of anything happening. And I think we should focus on.
A very good law can be used injuriously by very bad people. The Public Order Act, as the name suggests, is to assist, ensure public order. But clearly, you need to establish that there's a real threat to public order. This is a protest march in which we have not heard one single Ghanaian make a statement that they are going to challenge the protesters, that they are going to organize a counter demonstration. Nobody has said they're going to organize a counter demonstration. So there's really no threat. Secondly, this is a protest march led by members of parliament. And so we are also very interested in a peaceful and orderly march to the central bank and to present our petitions and then to depart peacefully, because our reputations are also on the line. In fact, we'll be watching the police more than they will be watching us. And for every demonstration that I have participated in, we've made sure that the entire march is covered, every angle of it, by our own cameras, so that when there's a problem anywhere, we will all be able to detect who caused it. Because again, you must always look out for infiltrators. You must look out for, sometimes the infiltrators can actually be, sponsored state security actors. So you can't assume that all the people wearing uniforms and standing there, mean well for the demonstrators. Clearly, we have done this before. We've done this severally. What has happened today? What has degenerated about the Ghana Police Service that they cannot police citizens to march along the same routes that they could march through several years ago? If anything at all, these past demonstrations should serve as experience for the police service in how to police people to march along those same routes. So if you could do this several years ago, why can't you do it today?
So before him was Richard Ahiaba of the NPP, was making a point about the fact that the police also have the responsibility of ensuring that the right things are done when the public is concerned. Well, on the plot to oust the IGP, Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, blamed politicians for the politicization of the Ghana Police Service, especially in the appointment of top officers. Mary Awilana Ada explained politicians have infiltrated the service with their members and not necessarily persons with the interest of serving the nation and doing so professionally at all times. Her comment come after a series of claims by the Director General of Operations of the Ghana Police Service, COP George Alex Mensah, when he appeared before the Ad Hoc Committee of Parliament.
I believe that this is an opportunity for the service itself to begin to then put in place measures to sanitize itself. Admittedly, the politicians from the majority and minority party, as we have, are the ones who have bred this monster for us. It is a fact that is being spoken over time that they have infiltrated the service with their supporters, and we have seen a lot of things happen in the service which show that it's not people who are interested in serving this nation and promoting service with integrity that have gone into the police service. However, the service itself can do something to ensure that they begin to sanitize them. And one would be, Honorable Mahama Ayariga has spoken to recruitment. However, they are the same people behind the scenes pushing their constituents to go and join the police service. And I'm not leaving out the other parties. Both are equally guilty and culpable in this instance.
All right.
Let us begin to allow our systems and institutions to work.
Well, the Pamproma forest, a vital forest reserve in the country, now finds itself on a cliff of destruction due to the relentless activities of illegal mining activities. Now, the forest, nestled in the lush landscapes of Ghana, was once a citadel of biodiversity and ecological significance. In our latest hotline documentary, Erastus Asaredonko reports how state institutions, including regulatory bodies and law enforcement agencies who are responsible for protecting Ghana's natural resources and preserving its environmental heritage, look on for the forest to be dissipated.
This is the Kobro community, an old town which sits deep within the Pamproma Forest Reserve. Residents still have fresh memories of how the destruction of the Kobro section of the reserve started in 2018. One by one, they tell me of how the late Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission, Sir John, in 2018 convinced the townsfolk that the government was undertaking a reclamation exercise in the forest.
Initially, they said they were covering pits, but then they started building settlements. We wondered why they were setting up shelters if they were just covering pits. Then a number of machines were brought in, so we mobilized to demonstrate. But Sir John came in and assured us they were just planting trees. But after a month when we went back, the forest was crawling a lot of miners.
That began a series of events that marked the woes and destruction of a once beautiful natural forest. A forest entry permit was granted to Unique Star Point Company Limited to carry out reclamation activities on some portions of the forest reserve in November 2017. In the same year, a forest entry permit was granted to Heritage Imperial Company Limited to conduct prospecting activities in December 2017. Unique Star Point Company Limited and Heritage Imperial Company Limited belong to Emmanuel Donald Intua and Reynolds Kwabi. Contrary to mining regulations, what was supposed to be prospecting and reclamation of the Pamproma Forest Reserve turned out to be active mining of the reserve with over 18 excavators and a number of bulldozers.
The forest became a no-go area. We could not enter the forest. They mounted huge barriers. They brought in bodyguards. I used to drive some miners into the forest. We had to endure drills from the military. We concluded that these people were sent from the top.
The illegal activity in the Kobro section of the Pamproma Forest Reserve went on for months under the watch of the Forestry Commission.
So this devastation went on, and the Pamproma Forest Reserve sites are right here. The Forestry Commission says it had no evil, it did not see anybody bringing in heavy equipment. This has lasted for close to a year. No government official got wind of it, or nobody was prepared to even face them.
After failed attempts by Operation Vanguard and other security agencies to stop the illegality, the Interministerial Task Force on Illegal Mining moved in to stop the pillaging of the forest.
The Cybersecurity Authority says it has recorded an estimated 49.5 million Ghana cedis as direct financial losses through cyber fraud activities from January to June 2023. The Director General of the authority, Dr. Albert Entry Bosiako, speaking at the press launch of the 2023 National Cybercrime Awareness Month, said the amount represents only 20% of possible losses due to the inability of the authority to be visible across the country to track cybercrime cases.
Somewhere in the Upper East or Brunhaf or Eastern region, suffers cyber incident, the person goes to report the incident to the district police. If you ask me, the authority hasn't got visibility as I speak now. And there is also a system being run at the Judiciary, the case tracking system that seeks to record every cybercrime, and then it runs through if it's being investigated and prosecuted. That system has not fully been implemented. So I think we are at a certain level of maturity to have full visibility across the entire chain, since there are multiple players. So that is the state as far as answers on arrest, prosecution, and conviction. It is my expectation that within the next 2 years, we should be able to harmonize these processes and be able to provide 360 degrees in this particular area. But that is one area that requires a bit of work to be done. But in terms of losses, yes, we have. Even though what I'm going to share with you will be a fraction because of the earlier problem. Because once you have all the agencies collating this information, then you can also tax them to document how much in case there are financial losses. So that place, in terms of harmonization, integration is not complete. Therefore, it means there are gaps. But authority on its own has started, and I want to commend my team, the National Set Team, for adding that component. So from January to June of this year, in terms of financial losses, we estimate about 49.5 million Ghana cedis as direct financial losses. This is, again, a fraction based on the report that is received by the authority. And I don't think this will be possibly above 15-20% of the direct financial losses. Indirect financial losses hasn't been recorded because cyber attack could affect availability. So if your system is not running, like ECG particular case, if availability, it goes off, I don't get power, it affects almost everyone. Even the person running cold store in a certain hinterland. So again, quantifying losses in the cyber domain, I think that's why it's a PhD question. But I think the figures I've given to you is a starting point, and I think we need to do more.
Deputy Minister of Communication and Digitalisation, Pamproma, reiterated that with the expansion of Ghana's internet access rate, there is a need for stakeholder collaboration to ensure digital safety.
The rapid advancement of digital technologies has transformed the way we live, work, and interact with each other and the world around us. However, as the digital age brings numerous opportunities, so are its risks to individuals, organizations, and societies. Cyber threats such as cyberbullying, privacy breaches, misinformation, and disinformation have become prevalent and of urgent concern. Ghana is no exception to these risks, particularly as the country scales up connectivity and takes on greater strides in achieving the country's digitalization agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the Group Special Mobile Association's Connectivity Index 2023 report, which measures the performance of 170 countries against the critical enablers of mobile internet adoption, Ghana is ranked third in Africa with a score of 51.4%, marking significant progress in our internet penetration in the last 5 years. The same report highlights Ghana's score of 86.69% in online security, a key dimension of the index,
which is consistent with the country's score on the ITU's Global Cybersecurity Index. Currently, Ghana's internet access rate stands at 23.05 million, representing 68.2% of the population. Of this number, 6.6 million, which is 19.5%, are active social media users, contributing to the country's 13th place in the world on the list of countries that spend a substantial amount of time on the internet.
Now, as food inflation continues to surge, traders at the Central Business District say food prices on the market has stabilized. Now, the Ghana Statistical Service pegged food inflation for the month of July at 55%, a slight increase from the 54.2% recorded in June. Traders at the Malata market are, however, decrying the low patronage. Linda Enyan's report read to you.
In July, food inflation, as reported by the Ghana Statistical Service, was at 55%, indicating a slight increase from the previous month rate of 54%. This uptick in inflation raised concerns about the cost of living in the country and its potential impact on consumers and businesses. The hike in food prices got many lamenting, resulting in low patronage of foodstuff in various markets. But while the numbers in the book of the Statistical Service show an increase in food inflation, traders at the Malata market are portraying a different picture. According to them, there has been stability in the prices of foodstuff amidst the upwards adjustment in inflation over the past few months.
Prices are good, unlike before. This was sold at 100 cedis, but it's now sold at 45 or 50 cedis.
1 million. But they say nyame adom aba 50. Obenya bi kura 45.
They say no niema na aba no aba, bode ne de aba. Ne bo no, say no.
Plantain is now in abundance. We get about 6 or 7 fingers of plantain at 10 cedis and sell 5 or 6 fingers at 10 cedis. The prices are now affordable.
10 cedi. See, they say they are 10 cedi. A 4. They were 10 cedi or 5 cedi. Oto ebe so aduane.
While other traders have said foodstuff are now affordable, this trader at the market believes otherwise.
Nane bono ne ye kakra. Ba sesi ano bona sa kosoro kakra.
Initially, the prices were okay, but now the price have increased. But I can't tell the reason behind the hike.
Say yeah, transport no. Say yeah, they mean because yes, we are kofa
For many consumers, they may side with this line of observation. A consumer who spoke to Joy News expressed concerns about the prices of commodity at the market. To her, prices should be cheaper, considering the bumper harvest recorded this year.
We are in a season of bumper harvest, but the prices are not as good as it's supposed to. The dollar hasn't appreciated, so I don't know why prices still keeps increasing.
To other stories, Upper West Regional Chairman of the Ghana Journalists Association, Swalla Abdullah, has called on motorists in the country to use the crash helmet for their own safety. Swalla Abdullah made the statement when the regional GJA donated about 18,000 cedis to Morris Banawini for his medical bills following an accident a couple of months ago. John News Upper West Regional Correspondent Traffic Salam reports from Wa.
Morris Banawini was heading home on July 9, 2023, when he was crossed on the middle of the road by a middle-aged man few meters after the main traffic light at the West Central Business District. As a result of the crash, he was rushed to the Upper West Regional Hospital for medical attention. Medical doctors at the hospital, after examining him, realized that he had several injuries on his head that required major operations to correct the anomaly and needed to be transferred out of the region. Morris Banangmani was then transferred to the Komfo Aniche Teaching Hospital in Kumasi for the surgical operation. The cost of money involved in the surgical operation was pegged around 60,000 Ghana cedis and shouldered by benevolent individuals. The Upper West branch of the Ghana Journalists Association, of which Morris Banangman is a member, because of his part-time work at some radio stations in the region, including Radio Wa, did not stand aloof but created a platform for money to be donated to help pay his medical bills.
When he was involved in an accident, quickly the leadership of GJA came together and said, look, we need to do something. And we sought clearance from the family to be able to do what we did. But some people were even questioning. I had a call from somebody who said that, who gave us the clearance to go and do what we were doing? Because at that time we needed time to do what is needful. I decided to ignore those things. But I think that the general public, particularly the general Upper West public, were very, very helpful. I now realize that there are a lot of good people in the Upper West region, and they, in fact, contributed a lot, even though we had some from other parts of the country. So as we are going to give this money, it's 18,424 Ghana cedis.
Upper West Regional Chairman of GJA, Swalla Abdullah, in a brief remark before presenting the money to Morris Banangmani, urged motorists to use grass helmet whenever they are to ride in order to save their lives.
So assuming he was not in a helmet, look at what happened to him, his condition. He was in a helmet. So if he was not wearing a helmet, you could imagine the kind of situation he would find himself.
Now, Ecobank Ghana, as part of its corporate social responsibility, has donated food and other items to the Porters Village Orphanage. According to the acting managing director of the Ecobank Ghana, Joanna Mensah, the donation is aimed at making a social impact and giving back to the societies in which they operate.
Ecobank Ghana, under its Employee Volunteerism Initiative, has donated items amounting to 280,000 Ghana cedis to the Porters Village Orphanage and other institutions. The items include food, drinks, sanitary tissues, stationery, malaria and typhoid testing kits. According to Acting Managing Director Joanna Mensah, the gesture forms part of the bank's commitment towards the development of the country.
And as Ecobank, we, as part of our corporate social responsibility, we like to, every year, annually, we donate to institutions. And by this time around, we felt that let's also make a social impact. So we identified a number of underprivileged people. And this is one of them. We had 5 places. And really, we are very happy to be here to make an impact, to make people smile. At the end of the day, once you're a blessing, and you make that kind of impact, people appreciate it and they're also happy at the end.
The Executive Director of the orphanage, Nanama Eduosu, expressed appreciation to Ecobank for the gesture.
This donation is so timely. Now, many of our children, students are vacating and they are coming home and the numbers are increasing because often when they vacate and they go, the numbers come down a little. But when the university students, the SHS students vacate, we have the huge numbers. Food, you can't keep these children and starve them. The food we have here, the oil, the corn, everybody knows in Ghana how expensive these food items are right now. So for us to receive them, it's a big relief on us because we know that in the next few weeks, at least we are settled, the children can eat comfortably. So thank you, Ecobank staff, for supporting the Porters Village to also support these vulnerable children.
Ecobank also made donations to the Weja Leprosarium, Pentecost Hospital in Medina, Suntreso Hospital, and Sekondi prisons.
And that's how we wrap up this morning's edition of AM News. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. The newspaper review segment is up next on the AM show. Stay with us. for us to bring you the news review, and we're joined via Zoom by the Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Brahima. Good morning to you, sir, and thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Great. I have the Daily Graphic newspaper, I have the Daily Guide, I have the Ghanaian Publisher, the Finder, the Custodian, and the Energy Digest. Okay, so those are the papers we have. Anyway, Mr. Brahima, but I don't know whether over the weekend you got some issues that you wanted to, I mean, if given the opportunity, you talk about before we delve into the papers.
Well, not much. Throughout the week, I was in Nigeria, where we had conversations about the shrinking civic space in our region, the political crisis that we are going through, the insecurity, the issues of good governance and all. And in the course of the process, we heard of the coup in Gabon. And I think it really, we are at a point where we really have to reflect on the causes of these coup d'etats and the issues of good governance in our region. I don't think that at this stage any country is immune to these recurring coup d'etats. We all have to be careful. I made the point that what is important is for governments to appreciate the fact that the trouble causers are not the ones who are warning that there could be a coup d'etat. But indeed, the issue is how our governments are leading us. And I think that as citizens of West Africa, we should all be worried about these developments and begin to engage our governments in ways that would prevent any possible coup d'etat in our respective countries. I just wanted to reflect on that as we go along.
All right, grateful. Now, on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper, it says probe committee to invite IGP for questioning. Smallholder farmers benefit from $69.7 million project. Expect more rains up to November, according to that GMET warns. Labour Commission direct CTAG to end strike, and Eric Yamuche inducted Pentecost chairman. Okay, so the Ghana Meteorological Agency, GMET, has cautioned that the distribution of this year's September-November rainfall may lead to more localized floods in low-lying areas within Accra and Kumasi. It said there was also a high chance of heavy flood in the northern part of the country due to the contour of the rainfall expected in those areas and the likelihood of the spillage of the Bagre Dam in Burkina Faso. This was contained in this year's September, October, November forecast made available to the Daily Graphic. Now, the Deputy Director and Head of Research and Applied Meteorology and at GMET, Francisca Marte, said the current rainfall pattern as captured in the forecast was not out of the ordinary. Well, year in, year out, we go through, this cycle of when it rains, we have floods here and there. What do you think has been the reason why we've not really been able to deal with, the aftermath of rainfall in this country?
Well, I think it comes down to a number of factors. One is indiscipline in the part of we the citizens, non-compliance of the rules governing our physical spaces. Everyone is building anywhere, and the authorities appear not to care. Apart from that, what governments must also do over the years in terms of maintaining our drains, constructing our new ones and all, are not also being done. We have a minister for sanitation who is into this whole controversy about monies, and people are asking, where is this money coming from? We've heard about regime contracts here and there. So it's, for me, the combination of these factors that continue to give us all these problems over the years. We know that these things will happen. We know the rainy season is coming, but we only get to talk about the challenges. People are, flooding in this area, flooding in this area, this number of houses demolished or, collapsed as a result of flooding, one person dead, two people dead. And then we do the stories, then wait to follow what happens the following year. I think it's all about leadership. Our metropolitan, municipal chief executives and the role they have to play, the regional coordinating councils and the role they have to play, and at the national level, the role of the entire government machinery. And even if talking about discipline, yes, people have to be self-disciplined, but we know that it is because people will not do the right things all the time. That is why we have the police, for example. And law enforcement is critical. And until we do that as a nation, I think we will basically be reduced to this year in, year out complaints and lamentations, and we will forever be in this situation, unfortunately.
I mean, back in school, I learned something called rainwater harvesting technology. So it means that our universities even know how to harvest rainfall, for agricultural purposes. But we have not been able to, actualize it. So we only learn it in school, and that's it. That's where it stays. Every year it rains, and then the water runs off. And then we'll get into the dry season, we're complaining we don't have water. So what really is it? Is it about funding, or it's about us always procrastinating what ought to be done?
Well, I guess it's a matter of policy and a matter of putting policies into practice. So it's two things here. One is the issue of water shortage during the dry season, and the important issue about harvesting water. And so that relates to questions about water shortage and Ghana Water Company not being able to supply to meet the demands of people. But at this stage, I think GMET's concern is really about the flooding situation. And that, I believe, has really perhaps nothing or little to do with the capacity of people to harvest water. No matter the capacities that we have in terms of harvesting water, the floods will happen. So long as the drains are choked, and in some places there are no drains, and people are constructing in low-lying areas, and people are filling places that are supposed to be the areas that should contain flood waters, people are building there, just filling them up and building there, then we'll continue to have the problem that we have on hand. This Bagre Dam spillage, it's been constantly every year is done. And you cannot blame the Burkinabés. If the time comes and that is what they have to do in order to be able to survive and get their communities to thrive, they have to do that. It is up to us to also then prepare and be resilient in terms of containing the spilled water, which has all the problem. So as a country, we have a lot to do.
All right, let's see how that goes. Now, when you go to page 13 of the Daily Graphic, it says probe committee to invite IGP for questioning. The parliamentary committee probing the purported plot to oust the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, from office, has hinted that it could invite Dr. Dampare to respond to certain questions and concerns raised by the witnesses. Speaking to the press after last Friday's hearing, the chairman of the committee, Samuel Atachia, said that was informed by the way evidence was evolving and unfolding. Quote, "This is because of the fact that what we should place before the plenary should not be shoddy and one-sided. If the presence of the individual will give the relevance to the fact-finding exercise, we'll do that," he said. He, however, stopped short of disclosing the specific day the committee would invite the IGP. And I'm sure you followed, the proceedings. How has it really met your expectations?
Well, it's good, first of all, to have the parliamentary inquiry into this, important issue about, it's for me, not really about the IGP, but about the security and stability of our country. We are talking about coup d'etats elsewhere. And when there is lawlessness, and when governments are misbehaving, as we see around our region, that's where these things, even become much more plausible and possible. We have had a situation where some people have basically orchestrated to oust the IGP, and the reasons they are given on the tape really. It's not about the IGP being incompetent, the IGP, the way he behaves, resulting in a lot of crime and all of that. We are talking about somebody who basically is saying this IGP must go out because with him, his party cannot win an election. And this is a 7 police commissioner. And of course, coincidentally, we saw what this commissioner presided over during the Ayawaso West Wogan by elections. So, for example, when he says that elections has mafia, we know what he means. So I think it's important that we are all getting to hear from the orchestrator of this whole agenda. I agree with the committee's sentiment sometimes that, well, given the benefit of the doubt, perhaps it should have been an inquiry held in camera rather than, being done publicly as we have it now.
Okay.
Because indeed, there have been some developments that maybe would have been better not to be put out in the public. But quite clearly, you see a man who is so bitter, a man perhaps who has, as a result of not being able to get his ambitions to become the IGP, is certainly quite bitter. If it comes down to inviting the IGP, well, one cannot say no, but I wonder whether in the sense of the committee, they would want to still have a public hearing with the IGP on matters of national security and all of that. Okay. At the end of the day, I say that, look, it's about what we as the public feel and see about the leadership of this IGP. The police is there to serve the public, and therefore it is our appreciation of how the public feel about the leadership of an IGP that matters, and not somebody who has that parochial interest of wanting to become an IGP and just thinks that the way to go about it is to play politics and to be so partisan in a needless way as we are witnessing. So, well, so far it's good, and let's see how things will pan out.
Okay. Now, smallholder farmers benefit from $69.7 million project. Now, the Ministry of Finance has launched a $69.7 million affordable agricultural financing for resilient rural development, AFFORD, a project in Sunyani to benefit over 540,000 smallholder farmers in 6 regions. The beneficial regions are Bono East and Ahafo in the Middle Belt, and the Northern, Savannah and Northeast regions in the Northern Belt, funded by the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD. The project is expected to provide direct services to about 75,000 rural households and indirectly to about 465,000 individuals in smallholder households. The project is specifically designed to provide financing to small-scale and large-scale farmers, farmer-based organizations, as well as micro, small, and medium enterprises engaged in agriculture-related businesses. The goal of the project is to support food security and improve living standards of smallholder farmers, poor and vulnerable women, and youth in the regions. Launching the AFFORD project, the Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, said the agricultural sector accounted for 54% of the country's gross domestic product. He explained that the sector contributed 40% of Ghana's export earnings while providing over 90% of the food needs of the country. He said a source from the 3rd Ghana Economic Update 2020 by the World Bank showed that around 71% of the formal employment in rural areas was in the farming sector, indicating the importance of increasing agrarian incomes as a means of lowering rural poverty. So here we are, some $69.7 million coming. If I'm sure you have an eye on the agricultural sector, probably you have a farm somewhere. What do you think government should, or how should government manage the 69.7 million to ensure that at the end of the day, the benefit that is intended will be achieved?
So this is support from IFAD.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that it would have been a program that is well designed with, clear objectives and stated goals, intended outcomes, intended impacts would all be captured on paper in a very, very brilliant way. There's no doubt that our governments and policymakers in the public sector are really, you have great minds there. So in terms of design of policies like these, if you were to pick the policy document, you would really appreciate the level of smartness, the level of brilliance that has gone into a document like that. The unfortunate thing is the whole issue about implementation and how people cut corners in order to make money. Over the years, we've had planting for food and jobs, a policy that on paper will look so great and so brilliant. But what has happened? Schools are still being shut because they cannot get food. Prices of food have been, skyrocketing. We continue to import tomatoes and onions from, the Sahelian region, countries that do not have the kind of lands that we have. So because of previous records and how we've implemented past policies, even though some of these things should give one hope, you remain quite skeptical and doubtful. This is about almost $70 million, a very, very significant amount of money. But at the end of the day, you end up not seeing any changes because monies will go into people's pockets. People would, accumulate wealth from it for their political agenda and all of that. Planting for food and jobs. What happened? The result is that the minister in charge, who was supposed to make it work and rather presided over failure, today is gallivanting all over saying that he wants to become president and talking about what agri can do for our country and so on. And the people, who are in the farming sector continue to suffer, who are in the agri sector continue to suffer. Because I'm in the media, I will continue to say that, look, we journalists have a lot of work to do. We've seen the announcements of these policies. Let's make it a point to track it. Let's make it a point to follow it. Right from the beginning, let's continue to ask questions and see how things will go. Until we do that, my brother, I think it will be business as usual. People will just make money, and peanuts will go to these beneficiaries, and at the end of the day, nothing will change.
Okay. Let's shift our attention to the Daily Guide newspaper. It says, student fetish priest killed by fire. Zongo Inner City's health outreach launched. Mahama attacks Nana judges. Your prayers gave me victory. I need more. That's according to Dr. Bawumia. Alan speaks tomorrow. Now let's start from page 3. It says, ex-president John Mahama has resurrected his venomous attacks on the judiciary, branding judges appointed during the Akufo-Addo administration as cronies and MPP inclined. Speaking at the 3rd annual lawyers conference of the National Democratic Congress on Saturday, Mr. Mahama, who is running for the presidency again, said the NPP government has deliberately put its people on the bench. According to him, President Nana Akufo-Addo has packed the court with the view to avoid accountability upon leaving office, noting that the president has appointed the biggest number of judges onto the bench. Quote, it is more than 80 towards 100 and counting. You can see what the current president has done. He has packed the court, and we know they have packed the court because they want to avoid accountability after they have left office, he stressed. Your thought on this?
This is coming from a former president and somebody who is seeking to be president again. If those are the facts in terms of appointments to the judiciary, then certainly it is a matter that must be raised. However, if they are not factual, then it is a matter of concern. Because, look, our judiciary, how solid it is, has a very significant implication for the consolidation and development of our democracy. To be honest with you, the reality and the truth is that a lot of people are losing confidence in the judiciary. And that is why when Justice Gertrude Tokonu was appointed as the Chief Justice, knowing her background and the kinds of things that people have said about her, I did a piece congratulating her and urging her to do the kinds of things that will restore public confidence in the judiciary. As I said, the truth is that people believe that our judiciary, to some extent, is not being fair, to some extent, has been partisan to some extent, serves the interest of the rich in our society. We have an opportunity to amend that. And one of the ways to amend that is for me to say things as it is. Some of us, you would say it, and sometimes, oh, it's contempt, oh, it's this. But we don't build society with threats. I don't think that the respect that people have for our judiciary is because the judiciary has the power to commit. I think it is because the judiciary is the institution of justice. That is why people, would have the respect for our judiciary. We've seen the appointment of a former MPP aspirant in the Volta region onto the Supreme Court. That is a fact. And nobody can say that or can convince me that such a person on the court really does not compromise the kind of opinion that people will have for the court. Unfortunately, our parliament, after a brief controversy here and there, approved him, and he is on the bench now. And so I think we don't have to say that when things are too partisan, too polarizing and all, they shouldn't be said. I think we can only confront the issues when they are brought to the limelight. And as I said, if the evidence points to the fact that Nana Akufo-Addo has been appointing persons who are obviously inclined to the MPP onto the bench, it has to be said. Just as, for example, he's done with the appointment of persons who are very well-known partisan activists of the MPP onto the Electoral Commission. I mean, if we say that that really compromises the integrity and the independence of the Electoral Commission, that is the fact, and nobody can deny that. And so for me, it's not just about condemning the former president, it's maybe about looking into the evidence. And if the evidence clearly points to support what he's saying, then we have to discuss it and bring it to the limelight, rather than saying, oh, it's a very, dicey matter, you don't have to say that, you don't have to say this. I don't think that is how to build a society.
Okay. Now, what about when he says, quote, we must be prepared as NDC legal persons to also go onto the bench so that we can balance out the judiciary. Is that the way to go?
No, that absolutely is not the way to go. We don't want an MPP, NDC judiciary in this country. We want a judiciary that is based on rule of law. We want a judiciary that is based on a true, fair interpretation of our laws and our constitution. So I don't think that even if Nana Akufo-Addo indeed has appointed close to 100 or even 500 judges onto the bench, I don't think the way to go is to say that, look, let us also appoint NDC-inclined judges onto the bench. People would say, but how else do you do it? I think we have to hold those judges who are there now accountable and expose those who think that they would use their position to serve the interest of their political parties. And I believe that there could be a way of doing that. Yes, they are the judges. They sit there, we call them our lords. We call them our lords not because they are MPP judges. We call them our lords because they are judges of our courts. And so certainly there should be a way of calling them out and naming and shaming folks who think that they want to use the judiciary for their parochial partisan interests. Just as COP Alex Mensah thought that he could use his inclinations to, the MPP to seek to become the IGP or to undermine the current IGP. I believe that those who would think that they would want to act on the basis of their partisan interest would eventually be exposed, and that is the way to go. And if President Mahama were to become president again, I think he will have the power to ensure that certain amendments are done. Why? Judges can be sacked, and so on.
Okay. Now, let's do the final now in wrapping up. Now, the National Identification Authority, NIA, has truncated the 10-day special exercise initiated to exclusively register public sector workers and issue them Ghana card free of charge. Now, consequently, the ongoing exercise has been open to all Ghanaians aged 15 years and above without Ghana card from today. This is the result of highly disappointing patronage of the exercise, which is meant to ensure that every public sector worker has Ghana card before the Controller and Accountant General kickstarts no Ghana card, no salary policy later in the year. The low patronage is surprising considering the high publicity about the exercise and the fact that It was being done at the request of the Controller and Accountant General Department and at no cost to first-time applicant. We are told that, I mean, when this exercise was opened, they were able to only register some 87 public sector workers in 5 days, and that's why they've now opened it to everybody. How do we deal with this Ghanaian attitude of not going for the thing when the time has come, but we'll wait for last day and then we start rushing? How do we deal with it to ensure that more people are registering for the Ghana card now?
Well, two things. Yes, we have to deal with the attitude of the Ghanaian, who is always last minute. We have that attitude of doing things last minute. It's something that we have to work on as an attitudinal thing, as a cultural thing, as a values thing. That's real. The other thing that we have to deal with is the elitism of our institutions. The people who really needs the Ghana card are the folks in Daboya, Mankarago, who could not register because of resource constraints, and they couldn't move at some point. The ones who have to, who need it the most are the men and women in Yamibechere, in Ahafwano Southwest, who could not register because at the time that the folks were there, the NIA folks were there, maybe they had to do like 3 kilometers to a certain community to be able to get it. What is important for the NIA is to make the services available to these people by moving to the rural areas, so that our things, in terms of these digital public infrastructure stuff that we are rolling out, it becomes more inclusive, rather than always giving the privilege and the opportunity to those of us in the cities and who can actually afford. Even if the thing is being done in Dodowa and the public sector worker here in Accra has to get it, the person has the opportunity to either board a vehicle or get on a motorbike to go and get it. And so I think for me, what is important is how do we make these things very inclusive, so that those who need it the most in the rural areas, in the very deprived areas, will be able to get it, rather than lamenting over an elitist implementation of a policy because people are not patronizing. For me, those who need it the most are the ones that we must prioritize.
All right. Now, on page 8, it says Ghana poised to tap into $34.1 billion global salt industry. That's according to John Samuel Abdullah, Minister for Land and Natural Resources. Now, he says, so he's optimistic that Ghana is poised to tap into the multi-billion-dollar salt industry following the commissioning of Electrochem salt mine and processing plant. Industry experts project that the size of the global salt market will grow from 34.1 billion in 2023 to 48.6 billion by 2030. Speaking at the official commissioning of the Electrochem salt mine and processing plant in Adan, Jenapo said Ghana is now poised to export salt to Nigeria and other countries. He disclosed that, quote, after several engagements with relevant stakeholders and the payment of compensation to qualified applicant, Electrochem Ghana Limited has been granted a 15-year mineral lease for the commercial production of salt. Now, we know, the sort of acrimony that has greeted this Electrochem adventure. Now, all is set for the company to start exportation of salt. What would be your word of advice to the company and to government as to how they can maximize the gains from the salt exploration?
First of all, I think as a country, we've historically been mining gold, for example, and I believe that over the years, the past decades, the amount of money we've, as a country, should have earned from our gold resources is perhaps trillions, not the billions that they are talking about. But we are still where we are as a country. People are living in poverty, especially in communities where these resources have been exploited over the years.
Yeah.
We know about the Adan Songo salt project and the devastation it is causing for local people in the Adan area. We know how people have been brutalized, how women have been whipped by state security officials. We know how journalists who have spoken about the welfare and well-being of the community people have been attacked. We know the extent to which some media houses have literally been censored not to cover the Ada issues. What for me is important is not how much we are going to earn, whether it's billions or trillions, because we've seen that in gold, we've seen that in manganese, we've seen that in cocoa over the years. What is important is the people who are, whose resources are being tapped. What is the benefit to them? We've had gold mines, Obuasi, in Takwa, in Kenyase, and so on and so forth. What has changed in the lives of the people who live in these areas? What is going to change in the lives of the people of Ada? I think that for me is a very fundamental question. It is not about the trillions and billions we are going to make. Like I said, we've made that over the years, but where has it put us? It has just been about people amassing wealth, politicians amassing billions and billions and keeping some in the houses because they cannot even take it to the banks. We know about all that. So again, as a nation, we need to get involved in these issues, to be on the side of the people who are being marginalized, to be on the side of people who are being deprived, to be on the side of the people whose rights are being violated. So that at the end of the day, it is not the interest of politicians, but the interest of the people that should matter to all of them. All right. Thank you so much, Suleiman Abrahima, for joining us here on the News Review. All right, so he is the Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa. And this segment was brought to us by End Point Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic diseases. Well, we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll bring you sports. Swalla Abdullah is coming up next with latest from the world of sports. Do stay.
Good morning. Let's do sports now on the AM show with me, Swalla Abdullah. And on Saturday, Chris Hilton unveiled the Black Star squad for the last African Cup of Nations qualifier against Central Africa Republic. Andrea Yu, skipper of the senior national team, has been called up despite not playing a single minute of football since March early this year. So the goalkeepers are Lawrence Atizigi, Abdul Manaf Nuruddin, and Richard Ofori, who's also been out since November 2022. Defenders are Alidu Seidu, Kingsley Schindler, Stefano Ambrosius, Joseph Edu, Alexander Jiku, Nicolas Opoku, Bar Rahman, and Gideon Mensah. Bar Rahman is also making a return to the team after about 4 months absence. Midfielders are Abdul Salih Samed, Baba Idrisu, Edmond Ado, Andrea Yu, skipper of the senior national team, Elisha Owusu, Mohamed Kudus, and Ransford Yebua. And Baba Idrisu is making a return to the senior national team as well. Thomas Partey is absent because he's injured. For the forwards, we have Inaki Williams, Antoine Semenya, Jordan Ayew, Ernest Niama, Osman Bukari, Joseph Pinsel, and Jonathan Sowa of Midiama SC. These are the players Chris Hilton has called up. And Vice President of the Ghana Football Association, Mark Addo, who doubles as the Management Committee Chairman of the Senior National Team, has justified the inclusion of Andrea Yu into the 25-man squad.
He's a phenomenal leader. I mean, he has everybody that knows him that he fights. He leaves everything on the pitch. He doesn't go home with an empty gun. He fires every bullet out there on the pitch. So we all know that. So from that standpoint, you know that he's gonna come in and give you 110% every day, every night, and the team rallies around him. He's been around for a long time. He's seen a lot. So I think he's a key part of the key to the card. So and the team all rally around him, and he's the captain. So obviously it's important that that we all support him. I'm not the coach, so I can't. Sure. But I can say that there have been situations in the past where players who were not even at some point not affiliated with the club for some reason or another, they have been invited to the national team. There have been instances, and you probably can attest to it. So if he does get the invitation, it's to me it's not a big deal.
So then that brings me to the next question. What is the selection criteria? Or perhaps because the day you is the captain, the criteria for his selection may be different, because as we speak he's clubless and he's not attached to any club.
With the technical team.
But the technical team will run by the squad with you for assessment evaluation before.
Of course.
So
but even that, if they have a strong justification, like I said, and I made the point earlier, there have been situations where players have been invited to the national team for one reason or another.
The Black Stars under Chris Hughton has won one game and drawn two of their games. And the Vice President Makado says that no one is happy with the performance of the senior national team under the tutelage of the former Tottenham, Norwich City and Newcastle United boss.
Nobody is happy with the performance. I think Chris will be the first person to tell you he himself is not happy with the performance either. We expect more when we are Ghana. So, like I said, I think it's what we've seen or what we saw in Qatar. We saw that this team can be quite dynamic. So it's a question of making sure that he's picking all the right players, and also ensuring that the system that he's deploying is quite dynamic enough to be able to break teams down, and so that we can get results. So that is the Chris. That is the challenge that he and his technical team have now. We will support them 100% to make sure that, but it's something that they are working on day and night to make sure that they pick the right team to be able to provide that dynamic results that we are looking for, and the dynamic play that we know the Black Stars were playing. So it's something that he's working on, and he knows it. He knows the whole country is expecting that, and we are expecting that.
And you are expecting that improvement next week, Thursday, against Central African Republic.
The process has started. We expect to see marked improvement in the performance, and we want that. We are Ghana. We don't, people don't just say, hey, wash 3, 4, be 5 billion. But that's how. But football has changed.
Vice President Makado speaking there on Love FM, our sister station in Kumasi. And also the Black Stars will come up against Liberia in an international friendly at the Accra Sports Stadium on September 12th. Let's move on and talk about other stories. And for the first time in the history of the continent, there is the Paralympic African Games, which is currently happening in Ghana. The opening ceremony took place at the Bukom Boxing Arena on Sunday, and my colleague Benaya Elom Defiamakwa was there and comes through with this report.
Hundreds of athletes from over 10 countries gathered at the Bukom Boxing Arena in Accra for the opening ceremony of the first ever African Para Games. The Ghana Supporters Union did not disappoint as they dazzled the audience with an electrifying performance to set the tone for the ceremony. In attendance were the President of the African Paralympic Committee, Samson Dean, Minister of Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, and other dignitaries. Ghana, hosting the maiden edition of the continental event, President Samson Dean made this assurance.
We should be proud. Ghana, 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 we made it. We made it. We made it. To represent your interest, I am happy to make the day happen. September 3, 2023 will be the day that we will forever remember in the history of the sport. This is what we have called, we have fought, we have engaged, we have made sure that today happens. 36 years of our sport, we have it today. And I hope that we get the qualifications to the Paralympic Games in Paris 2024.
Sport Minister Mustafa Yusuf said parasports will help people with disability to feel more included in society.
Today, as we open a new page in our existence, let us use this game as a purposeful vehicle, highly envisioned to promote social inclusion and help eliminate stigma against persons with disability, and provide them with the opportunity to demonstrate their abilities and achieve excellence in diverse facets of life. As we witness this event today, let us be reminded of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, which enjoin us to promote, protect, and ensure full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedom by persons with disability, and to promote and respect for their inherent dignity.
The tournament was later officially launched with performances that represent the various African countries partaking in the tournament.
With your indulgence, and on behalf of His Excellency the President of the Republic, I wish to declare the first African Para Games Accra 2023 duly open.
For the opening ceremony, we have India, Liberia, Mali, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana, Lavely, West Africa. Oh,
Now let's talk about the Millennium Marathon for 2023. That one also happened over the weekend, and my colleague Elom again was there and comes through with this report.
About 6,000 athletes from over 34 countries had their eyes on the ultimate prize as they ran through the streets of Accra in the 21-kilometer marathon. But in the end, it was Kenya that stole the show, taking the first and second positions in the men's category and the top 3 positions in the women's category also.
Thank you very much for your massive support.
Peter Mwaniki, who emerged top in the men's category with a time of 1 hour 2 minutes 57 seconds, took home 75,000 Ghana cedis.
Let me say I'm happy and I feel good. It's not easy to reach just a race like this. So the first thing I just thank God, for next year, maybe I will be back again.
In the women's marathon, Kenya's Lilian Lelei also took home 75,000 Ghana cedis after finishing first with a time of 1 hour 11 minutes.
I was not sure because we come with a lot of colleagues from Kenya. I've been in Europe, Italy, many countries in Europe, Switzerland, Stralugano Marathon, Verona Marathon half, Tanzania, I was last month.
And have you ever won any of such in any of those countries?
Most of the time I was position 2, but now I win the race.
All right, so welcome back to the AM show. Let's talk about the minorities, protest, the Occupy BOG demonstration that is facing some challenges because the police disagrees with them over the route that they want to, choose to do this demonstration. We've been joined on the line by the MP for Boko Central, Mahama Ayariga, who is part of the minority, to help us out with. We know that today they will be in court. Where are they? Good morning to you, sir, and thanks for your time.
Good morning. Good morning.
So we know that you are in court today to challenge, to get the police to agree with you on the route that you've chosen. At this juncture, where really are we in terms of this case?
The police filed an application and then attached an affidavit, and their main argument is that there is terrorism in Burkina Faso, and there is terrorism in Niger, and there is terrorism in Mali, etc. And there is a coup in Niger and Mali. I mean, basically just citing, very implausible grounds on which the court should not allow us to carry out a protest march here in Accra, arguing that we want to pass through Makola, and Makola will be congested, etc. We filed a response to their application in which we pointed out to the court that we have always marched through the same Makola without any military coup or any terrorist attacks. We don't see why in the past we could march through these same routes, and today, with what we believe is an enhanced capacity of the police service, they are unable to police protests. They argue that the central bank is a security zone, and we made it known to the court that we don't know any law that says that central bank building is a security zone. We have marched through the central bank building area before, and nothing has happened. And going to the central bank is actually the message. So if you refuse to allow us to go to the central bank, then the message that we are dissatisfied with the performance of the leadership of the central bank will be lost. So, you will be effectively denying us our rights under the Constitution to express ourselves. So those are the two contending arguments before the court today. And so it is for the court to take a decision whether the police's contention that, essential services will be disrupted. There's no essential service along the route that we are marching. There's no hospital that we are going to go and prevent from functioning, and therefore you say that, or there's no ECG office that we are going to surround, and then you say that, in the process, electricity or water or even a fire service, so that you say that in a case of emergency, the fire service will not be able to function. Those are the essential services. And then also public order. There's no threat peace and security around the area because nobody has issued a statement saying that they disagree with the protest and they will come and disrupt it and etc. So basically they have no ground. They clearly don't want a demonstration, and that is all that we can see, and we believe that the court will also see through this and uphold our right to express ourselves by way of demonstration.
So is your expectation that this case will be called this morning?
Yes, the case should be called this morning. If it's not called this morning, then, for us, it works for us because then there's no injunction restraining us. And so tomorrow we go on our march.
So if the court still says, well, I'm going to fall in line with what the police is saying and will make sure that you are prevented from embarking on your demonstration through the route you've chosen, what will be the next line of action?
I don't believe the court will say so. If anything at all, maybe the court will seek to rather promote some more dialogue between the police and then the parliamentary groups in terms of the route. But the court cannot stand in the way of a democratic right to express ourselves. And I don't believe that the court should be doing that. And it will be a very bad, dangerous precedent. Because we have marched through the same route in the past. And so you have to give a very, very compelling reason why today Ghanaian citizens cannot march on the same route. And citing the coup in Niger and the coup in Burkina Faso and the coup in Mali is preposterous. And I don't think that the court will condone that. It is very, very strong reasons why citizens could march through Makola in the past, and today they cannot march through Makola.
Well, but isn't the police justified to use what's happening in the sub-region to say, because of that, we cannot guarantee that if we should allow this march to go on, all will go according to plan?
they must convince the court that somebody is planning a coup in Ghana and that it is a demonstration expressing revulsion against the central bank that will now give the person the opportunity to strike. They have to show the court. And if you know that somebody is planning a coup, why are you not going to go and arrest that person? And if you say that you don't have capacity to police Ghanaian citizens to carry out their demonstration, you have to convince the court that you are a security apparatus that can send an army to Niger to go and remove a certain military junta, and yet you cannot provide very simple policing for people to march to central bank and then come back to their various destinations. I mean, it would be very, 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 preposterous to have the court accept the very lame, and weak argument that I see the police advancing for us not to be able to march through routes that we have marched in the past. It will be difficult. I don't see how a court will accept that. If there's no evidence that we have been marching along those routes, then you will say this is the first time. But we have marched along those routes. The police have policed us along the same route. We have marched peacefully, no reported incidents. So if anything at all, our police have, the capacity and experience of doing the same job. So there's no reason why today they will say that they cannot do a job that they have been doing very well in the past. What has happened? Has the police suddenly become so inefficient and incompetent and incapable? Those are issues that I believe they cannot convince the court about. So any court that accepts these lame arguments clearly will be condoning, a flagrant violation of constitutional rights. And indeed, if any court is concerned about a military coup, the court knows that the way to prevent a military coup is to allow people to express themselves freely so that the ills of society and malgovernance will be corrected, so that the military will have no excuse to jump into the fray. But if you clearly see cases of flagrant violation where a contract that is supposed to be $81 million suddenly jumps up to $222 million, citizens are marching in protest, and you, the court, say, no, you can't even march to protest against something like that. You would rather be giving the soldiers an excuse to come in. And in the past, when soldiers have come in, the judges haven't been left out anyway. So I believe that the judges are very interested in making sure that democratic rights are upheld and that, public accountability, is maintained.
You said you don't anticipate the court, to listen or to be in tandem with the police. What if the police is able to convince the court agrees? What would you do?
Well, let's hear the court before we can. I don't speak for the entire group on what we will do because that would be undemocratic.
Okay.
So let's wait and hear what the court will say. If the court, contrary to what we all expect, decides to side with the police against citizens' expression of democratic freedom, we would immediately convene as a group, take a decision, and let the public know.
I mean, refresh our memory on your route again. Maybe someone is just joining.
We tomorrow plan to start at 10 o'clock, and we will converge in front of Parliament House, the frontage of Parliament House. We will march by the Ohendijan Stadium, past the Minister of Finance, and then on the Kimbu Road, then pass through Rollins Park, and then pass through Opera Square, and then end at the frontage of the Bank of Ghana head office building. Basically, it's a very short route, and we believe that there will be minimal. If we start at 10 o'clock, we will pass the Rollins Park and Makola Market even before 11, and by that time, Makola Market will not be as busy as the police are pretending that it will be. And, even in the past where we have passed through Makola Market around 1 o'clock, still the market has functioned effectively without us having any problem. So the arguments are just spurious. As you can see, they just don't want us to demonstrate. And even if they were concerned about Makola Market, look, there are alternative routes to the central bank that they could have proposed. But they are telling us that we should march from Parliament House to Independence Square. What has Independence Square done to us that we are marching there? We have a problem with the central bank. We are telling we to march to Independence Square. I mean, that's preposterous. We have marched to the Flagstaff House, and nothing has happened. That is the seat of government. That is where you can make a case before any court that it's a security zone. And yet, we've marched there, and people have come out to receive petitions. So how is it that we can march to the central bank, to the Flagstaff House or Jubilee House, and yet we cannot march to the Bank of Ghana head office? The money is not kept at the Bank of Ghana head office. It's just an administrative building. They don't keep anything there. They have the warehouse on the printed road. That's where the printed money and everything is kept. That's not where we are marching. So clearly, there's really no threat at all to national security. You should march the frontage of the Bank of Ghana building. Already, there are people who carry out, trading and other activities in front of the Bank of Ghana head office. You don't see that as a threat to security or a violation of any security zone. So why would people marching there, constitute a violation of the security zone?
All right. So, for all intent and purposes, you disagree with the police on how they are going about this particular matter?
Absolutely. And unless the police IGP is confirming what COP Alex is saying, that, under his administration, this police service has become very incompetent, I don't see how it is that
All right. Grateful to Mahama Ayariga for your time, and I wish you all the best for today. He is the MP for Boko Central, Mahama Ayariga there. This is still the AM show. We'll be keeping an eye on this particular demonstration, and especially the case in court to determine where, what the next action will be. Now, this case will be called in court today. That's the expectation because the demonstration is tomorrow. So if the case is not called, then it means the minority can't go ahead to organize the demonstration. But if it's called, whatever happens, we'll bring that to you as well. This is still the AM show here on the Joy News channel. Let me still remind you that we'll be having that interaction with the President of the National House of Chiefs, Ojiahoho Yaojibi II. He will be joining us here for us to have a chat about, about his traditional area, the Western North region. This is a new region that was created as part of the new regions that were created, I think, in 2019. So we would want to find out what has been the economic development in that part of the country, and also delve into chieftaincy-related matters, how he's together with his house, the National House of Chiefs, are handling the many plethora of, chieftaincy issues that engulf us in this country. So stay with us. We'll be having that chat here. There are a lot of issues happening, so we'll be delving deeper into that with him. One other issue that is of concern to all of us has been the strike by the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, members of their association, CTAG. They've been on strike for some weeks now. They are calling for the government to honor some agreement that they've entered into in the past, which has not been respected. We'll be delving into that one. We've been joined on the line by Ofosu Asamoah, who is, I think, with Primpag. He's the Executive Secretary for the National Labour Commission. Chief, good morning and thanks for your time. Chief Ofosu Asamoah, good morning to you and thanks for joining us.
Yes, good morning.
Okay.
Good morning to your listeners.
So what's the latest on the CTAG strike?
Well, they appeared before the commission last week and with their petition against their employers for the withholding of their salary. And the commission directed that the call of the strike, which they were still engaged in the earlier on, be directed to. And then after that, the commission will hear them.
So the commission instructed them to call off the strike?
It repeated its earlier directive to call off the strike.
And they still not...
when the strike was unpaid allowances, which has now been paid.
Okay.
It's been paid into the account, so there was no need to be on strike, and they are still on strike.
So if that's the case, what will you be doing then?
Having not called off the strike, the committee will need to wait to execute that direction.
Well, if they are still on strike, you just mentioned that the allowances because of which they went on strike have been paid. But was their strike just about allowances, or there were more?
It was on the allowances, the unpaid allowances. That's what we got. There were others who have been satisfied. What was outstanding was the allowances. We wanted it to hit the account. It has hit the account now. So I don't see reason why they are still on strike. But there they are.
Does the payment include the payment of their August salaries? Because we heard that they weren't going to be paid.
That I will not know. I'm not a beneficiary, but what is before the commission for which they went on strike was the payment of allowances.
Okay.
It has now been paid.
But if that's the case,
if they want to engage on strike for no payment of salary, that's a different matter. That's there.
But if that's the case, then the strike is illegal.
There's no reason at all for even to test the legality. You want something, and if you don't give it to me, I'll go on strike. The thing has not been given to you. So why are you on strike?
When was this payment effected?
It was effected at the end of their August salary. It was coming with their August salary, yes.
And you are confident the monies have hit the account?
I'm sure you can just call them. It has hit the account. They have attested to it, yes.
Okay. So if they do not return to the classroom by close of today, by close of week, any action the Labour Commission will be taking?
That's what I said, that the commission will on Wednesday. If by Wednesday they haven't gone, the commission will know what to do. And have to be on application of their employers. They have to inform us whether they are on strike or not. If nobody comes to tell us, we may not know. So it is for the principals of the colleges, or the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, or the ministry, even the mother ministry, to tell us that yes, they are still on strike. So and the commission can take the next step.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, I mean, if Prinkov or the ministry does not come to you, then there's little they can do.
In fact, that is our way of knowing. Sitting there as a committee is like a judge in the court. If there's no complaint, how would the judge know? The High Court judge will give an order that teachers should go to the classroom. It's only when the headmaster or the proprietor or whoever is supervising the assistant comes to tell you that they have not come. That is when you can do something or say something.
Okay.
Or get to know. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see how it goes. We'll get in touch with them to
If
understand.
FM comes to complain, yes, that the directive has we have done a follow-up and the teachers are not in the classroom. Then based upon that, we can do something. So
okay.
we just take that part.
Okay. All right. Grateful to you, Mr. Ofosu Asamoah, for joining us here this morning. He is Executive Secretary for the National Labour Commission. According to him, the allowances based on which CETA, declared a strike action have been paid. And so they expect the teachers to be in the classroom. But if they are not in the classroom, it would demand or it would take the report by Prinkov or the Ministry of Education to alert them to it, and then they can take the next action. So where you are, are the teacher trainee, the teachers in the College of Education back in the classroom? If they are not, let's hear from you. You can send us, go onto our Facebook page and leave it there. We'll take it and then we'll do follow-ups. This is still the AM show. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back.
This is the Kobro community, an old town which sits deep within the Pamproma Forest Reserve. Residents still have fresh memories of how the destruction of the Kobro section of the reserve started in 2018. One by one, they tell me of how the late Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission, Sir John, in 2018 convinced the townsfolk that the government was undertaking a reclamation exercise in the forest.
Initially, they said they were covering pits. Then they started building settlements. We wondered why they were setting up shelters if they were just covering pits. Then a number of machines were brought in, so we mobilized to demonstrate. But Sir John came in and assured us they were just planting trees. But after a month, when we went back, the forest was crawling a lot of miners.
That began a series of events that marked the woes and destruction of a once beautiful natural forest. A forest entry permit was granted to Unique Star Point Company Limited to carry out reclamation activities on some portions of the forest reserve in November 2017. In the same year, a forest entry permit was granted to Heritage Imperial Company Limited to conduct prospecting activities in December 2017. Unique Star Point Company Limited and Heritage Imperial Company Limited belong to Emmanuel Donald Intua and Reynolds Kwabi. Contrary to mining regulations, what was supposed to be prospecting and reclamation of the Pamproma Forest Reserve turned out to be active mining of the reserve with over 18 excavators and a number of bulldozers.
The forest became a no-go area. We could not enter the forest. They mounted huge barriers. They brought in bodyguards. I used to drive some miners into the forest. We had to endure drills from the military. We concluded that these people were sent from the top.
The illegal activity in the Kobro section of the Pamproma Forest Reserve went on for months under the watch of the Forestry Commission.
So this devastation went on, and the Pamproma Forest Reserve sites are right here. The Forestry Commission says it had no evil, it did not see anybody bringing in heavy equipment. This has lasted for close to a year. No government official got wind of it, or nobody was prepared to even face them.
After failed attempts by Operation Vanguard and other security agencies to stop the illegality, the Interministerial Task Force on Illegal Mining moved in to stop the pillaging of the forest.
All right, so welcome back, and we've been joined by the producer of that small report you watched there. It's part of a full documentary that is playing tonight at 8:30 here on this channel. Erastus Asaridonko has joined me via Zoom now. Erastus, good morning to you. Charlie, kudos for that wonderful work.
Thank you.
So let's understand what even influenced your decision to put up this particular work.
So we have started some work going into the health effects of illegal mining across the country. And whilst at it, we were also visiting forest reserves. And it got my mind back to what the president said last year, that indeed all forest reserves have been cordoned off, and as he speaks, no mining is going on in there.
Yeah.
And we were seeing something different on the ground. We saw that people were really mining forest reserves across the country where we have been. And so we decided that, okay, let's collect the evidence and let's also file something in the area of forest reserves. And so the idea of Forest Under Siege came to mind. And this particular one is focused on a Pamproma Forest Reserve. We have one coming on Tablon Forest Reserve. We have one coming on the Tiwa Forest. We have one coming in other forest reserves. And so these are series of documentaries that will be coming up on Joy News for people to see the evidence and whether indeed, when the president says the forest reserves have been cordoned off, the situation on the ground.
So I mean, when I saw the video, I was like, hey, so for how long had this been going on in the Pamproma Forest Reserve?
It started way back in 2018. I have a history with it because at that time I was following the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, the task force around, and that is where we met Imperial Heritage Mining Company Limited, mining the forest reserve at that time with a prospecting license. They were not supposed to use heavy equipment under the law, but at the time we found them mining the forest when indeed they said they were doing reclamation and that they were prospecting for gold. That did not last. Fast forward, when we aired that report, the Interministerial Task Force took away their equipment and other things. They came back in 2021 and started mining again. That is where we accosted them at the Odaho section of this particular forest, and we were detained by over 30 fully armed military men who were protecting them mining the forest reserve. And so it has lasted. Other people have joined the fray, and today I can tell you that they have mined a large portion, thousands of hectares of this resource is gone, turned into, pits and gullies and other things.
So you've been there, you've seen it. Help us to appreciate the sort of destruction it is. You are able to sometimes say that this is about 10 football fields. Let's understand the sort of destruction in this forest reserve as well.
Well, when you look at this, in my layman's view, I'll tell you that the destruction to the Pamproma Forest Reserve is like half of Ashanti region.
Hey!
If you know Ashanti region very well, it's like half of Ashanti region gone. Because we flew the drone for minutes, and it traveled miles, and it was unending. The devastation was just being captured like that. Sweeping, pits, gullies. And you could see it glaringly. And I will just ask our viewers to watch it this evening on Joy News, and then you get to appreciate the drone footage will tell you the devastation that caused to this forest. And mind you, this destruction, I learned that we've gone for a loan, $103 million, to reclaim part of the Pamproma Forest Reserve. And you and I are going to pay for it. In a place where people have stolen the nation's gold resources, they've destroyed the timber and biodiversity, they've destroyed and driven away animal species, the flora and fauna, the herbs that we had in this forest. And on top of it, they've gone for a loan to reclaim it, and you and I, who did not benefit from this, are going to pay for it. And that is not fair.
Wow. So if I'm to watch this tonight, what should I expect?
So expect to see evidence contrary to what the politicians, including the president, tell you, that all forest reserves have been cordoned off and that there's no mining going on in there. We want to make a statement that no forest reserve has been cordoned off. Indeed, there are miners who are pillaging our forests at the moment. Be prepared to see the devastation caused to this once beautiful virgin forest, the Pamproma Forest Reserve, which is under the Bekwai, Dinyase Paramount, and how now timber firms that were relying on this resource now have been denied of quality tree species. The river that runs through the forest, the Oda River, look at how polluted it is at the moment. You also be talking to farmers who will tell you that climatic conditions have changed. The rainfall pattern has changed. Even the kind of rain that falls in that particular area for farming is changed. And so this is evidence to the fact that we are destroying the future of forests. And the Pamproma Forest Reserve is the first example we are giving our viewers. As to what we can do to stop it, the time is now. And it depends on the citizenry who gave power to these politicians to now rise up and speak up against this wanton destruction.
How many water bodies were passing through this forest?
So we have the Pamproma River, totally polluted. We have the Oda River, which runs through the Pamproma Forest Reserve. And the Oda River is the same river they pick, they pump and treat to serve the people of Obuasi. And if you look at how polluted it is, and the amount of polymers that is used to be able to clean this and pump it out to serve the people of Obuasi, you have the Subiri River, which also runs through the Pamproma Forest Reserve, is equally highly polluted. And mind you, we have fresh samples of it. This time we are not just showing it on TV. We are testing the samples in a laboratory to tell you what heavy metals or chemicals we have in there, so that it will inform policy. And I hope this time around, the politicians will not dismiss this, and that they will act to protect our very existence.
Interesting. I mean, the excerpts that we played, I heard them mention the fact that Sir John also came into the community to tell them that they were reclaiming. So it means that the Forestry Commission had all this while been aware of what was happening.
The Forestry Commission cannot say they are not aware. This is a forest that my father grew up in, and he has fond memories of how, if you even want to cut a pistol to pound fufu, whilst at it, forest guards will know where you are and they will come find you and you'll be arrested. And so, if think about it this way, that if somebody is cutting a pistol with just one small tree to pound fufu, forest guards can trace and arrest him. How much more if you have excavators, which are not matchboxes? These are heavy equipment. And if they are moving into the forest, they come at a certain decibel of sound. And if the Forestry Commission watched this go on, for people to decimate the forest this way, to this level, they cannot say they don't know. They know about it. And I remember the late Sir John used to say that as for him, once you bring a prospecting license, he will open up the forest for you to go and mine. And the negligence alone on the part of the Forestry Commission, to the extent that if somebody comes in with a prospecting license, the law says you should follow up and look at what he's doing in the forest, whether he's indeed doing prospecting or he's doing something else. So the supervisory role rests with the Forestry Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency. And ask yourself, where were these two institutions when the forest was being eaten alive? And this has lasted for close to 4-5 years to come to this level of devastation. And this is the time now that the forest is gone. This is the time now that we are spending money to chase illegal miners in there, and the forest is already gone. And so, yes, I would say that the Forestry Commission can take the blame for this. They have not done their duty well to protect this resource. And this is not the only place. Currently, we have Tano Nimre being pillaged by illegal miners. We have Etiwa Forest. We have some miners who have invaded there. We have the Kokosua Forest Reserve, which is currently being pillaged. You go to the Mrewa area in Seshubekwai. There are people in that forest reserve mining it with impunity as we speak. You go to Cape 3 Point Forest. There are people in there mining this reserve as we speak. And as we speak, Parliament has gone on the blind side of everybody last year to amend our forest guidelines, our environmental guidelines, to open up existing production.
Hearing Cape 3 Point is even, I'm thinking about really Cape 3 Point as well. That's serious then. But we know that the Minerals Commission also has a responsibility. Do we know what they're also doing about all of this?
That is one institution that I don't know what to say of them, whether they are handicapped or whether sometimes they love to look aside and allow these things to go on. Because the question is, so while this was going on, where was the Minerals Commission? Where was the supervisory role? When the forest was being mined with a prospecting license, where were the officials of the Forestry Commission? Did they not see it? What did they do to stop it? If they had done something and they had discharged their duties back then in 2018, right through to 2023, the forest will still be alive. So there is a serious question to all this. All these governmental agencies must take the blame, must take the fall. If we are very serious as a country, and if the president, as he calls it, is very serious, heads must be rolling at this particular moment about why we have all these agencies and none of them was able to come to the rescue of this reserve.
Wow. This is troubling. I mean, there are sort of reserves that we expect them to protect and they are not. What do you expect to happen after we've watched this documentary?
What I expect to happen is that it should not be the usual talk show or dismissal of this video. And in times past, when we have done these documentaries and presented very good evidence for the government, the policymakers to act, they have looked elsewhere, dismissed these videos, and sat in their offices and said, these are old videos. These are not old videos. These are current videos. If anybody wants to dispute that, they should go to the field and see what is happening there. I expect that the president will wake up and begin to act in consonance with his constitutional duty, that indeed the forests and natural resources have been vested in him to keep in track for the people. This is the time for the president to stop ignoring what we have been presenting to him. Take a look at this video, act, let heads roll, and protect the remaining of our forest reserves.
Anyway, Rastos, sometimes people ask me, what keeps you going?
It's the environment. It's my existence. It's your existence. It's the future of our children's children. If you have a child in your car at the moment, look at that child's face and ask yourself, in 40 to 50 years when you are dead and gone, with this kind of distraction, what will happen to that child? If you are able to answer that question and you're happy with the answer and you want to sit on the fence, that's up to you. That is why I cannot rest. That is my bit. That's my job, and I have to do it.
Rastos, Asari Donko, all the best, and we'll be following up tonight to see what's in this documentary, and then we all join the fight to get the right actions to be taken. Grateful to you, bro. Rastos Asari Donko is, the producer of this documentary. He is an assistant editor with us here, and he's done some fantastic work there. Well, so from talking about the environment, if I were God, probably I would have stopped providing water to some of these, because look, he gives us water and we pollute them. We're being warned that we would have many rains this year. But how much of rainfall would we have exactly? We're being joined by senior meteorologist at the GMET, Joshua Asamoah, joining us via Zoom. Joshua, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Now,
good morning. Thanks for having me.
You're asking us to expect more rains. How much more rains, really?
Well, thank you, and a very good morning to your viewers. So it depends on the part of the country where you find yourself. For areas in northern Ghana, they are in the peak of the rainfall at the moment, but it will start subsiding in the next few months, and it will be ushering them into the dry season for northern Ghana. So by the end of September into October, the rains will start subsiding for northern Ghana. But for us in the southern portions of Ghana, that's from the forest areas to the coastal parts, the Ashanti, Eastern, Volta, parts of the OT, Western, Central, Greater Accra regions will start getting the minor rainfall season from now into late October, going into early November before we go into the dry season. So for us in southern Ghana, we are yet to enter the minor rainfall season, but northern Ghana will be going out of the major rainfall season in some few months.
Yeah, so in simple terms, really, what should I be expecting if I live within these ecological zones?
Okay, so for areas in southern Ghana, we have not been seeing the rains that are accompanied by strong winds and thunder for some time now. We are mostly seeing cloudy conditions, some slight rain, drizzle. Occasionally, then we get some moderate to heavy rainfall within the south. This has been the rainfall that we are seeing in August this year. We saw in August. We're also seeing similar conditions in the start of September. But the onset of the minor rainfall season means that we'll now start experiencing the rains that come with thunder, lightning, and then some windy conditions as well. So from mid-September going into late September, we should start experiencing rainfall that will be accompanied by windy and then thundery conditions for areas in the southern portions of Ghana. The intensity will also increase compared to what we've been experiencing in August and then the early parts of September. We'll be getting more of the moderate and then the heavy rainfall, but the duration of the rains will also be a bit shorter now than what we were experiencing in the past few days, when it could rain the whole day, but the intensity will not be so much. Now, we may get very heavy rainfall, but over a short period of time, that is likely to bring some flash floods within areas in the southern portions of the country.
What about the northern portion?
Yes, they are still in the rainfall season. Like I said, the rains will be subsiding now, but still it's raining in Burkina and then the upper east, the upper west regions. And because of that, we are also seeing some inundation from the Bagre Dam into the upper eastern portions of Ghana. So you'd expect that occasionally some flood issues may be experienced there, but the intensity will start reducing as we go into the latter parts of September into October before they go into the dry season for the country.
So what would you expect people to do?
So for us in the south, for northern Ghana, they're already in the rainfall season, and so around this time, the advice is that you stay away from running water. If you see that it's raining, you get a shelter. Don't try to be in a hurry to get to where you are going. In the event of doing that, you may find yourself in some trouble. So wait till the rain ceases, because they are still getting the rain that are accompanied by the thunder and the lightning and some windy conditions. So it's a bit disastrous now. You don't want to be caught in this kind of weather. So stay at a place where you are sheltered until the event ceases. And then when you are going in the water just be sure where you are walking. If there's a lot of running water, you don't want to be walking through them, because you might find yourself in some ditch or gutters, and then it will cause some harm or damage to you. So make sure everywhere you are passing is clear, or you know exactly the area you are walking, so that you don't find yourself in any problem. But for us in the south, because we have not been experiencing this kind of rainfall in the past few days, and now we are going to get the thunder, the lightning, and then some heavy rainfall. Like I said, there's a possibility of some flood issues coming in the southern portions of the country, some flash floods here and there. So around this time, you want to be very cautious with the weather conditions that you expect within the day. The advice is that before you go out, you take note of what is expected within the day. And once you get the information, you would want to also take shelter, just like for people in the northern portions. If you see the signs of rainfall coming, you get a shelter and then wait till the event ceases before you step out to go to your places. For us, we've been saying this countless times. We should try and then harvest some water in our homes. This will reduce the runoff that we see causing flooding issues in the country. Once you do your little in your house, another person also will do another in his or her house, and then will in the end be able to at least reduce the runoff water and subsidize the flood issues that we get here in southern Ghana. So we should try and at least harvest some water in our homes. If you are now planning on building, get some greens in your house, some flowers, some plants. At least it will also serve as a water retention point and reduce runoff issues that cause flooding in the country.
I mean, when you want us to do it, sometimes we've tried in the past, it hasn't worked. The authorities need to act. Who are you? I mean, how are you collaborating with the municipal and district assemblies as well as the metropolitan to ensure that the right things are done when it comes to people putting up their houses?
Well, ours is to provide information, the intensity of the rains that are expected within the country, make it available to these people, and then provide some precautionary measures. But then when it comes to the implementation of these things, that may not necessarily be in our control. So we'll provide information to them, especially to the National Disaster Management Authority organization. That is an organization that we deal on a regular way. So we provide these information and what could be done to avert the effects that will be associated with them. But when it comes to its implementation, our duties do not extend to that part.
All right. Joshua, I'm grateful to you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Joshua Samoa is senior meteorologist at the Ghana Meteorological Authority. Well, that's it. But you heard the information. What you do with it is absolutely up to you. And that's why it's important that you advise yourself once they tell us that the rains are going to be, quite serious, not over a long period, over a short period, but the intensity will be much. You need to then advise yourself as you step out of your house. So that's it. This is still the AM show here on the Joy News channel. Let's try and talk about other matters. But like I said, you can go onto Facebook and leave your comment there. We'll take it and share it with the rest of our viewers. We'll take a quick break. We'll return with more. Stay with us. All right, so welcome back to the show. Now let's talk about the Ghana card registration, which has now been open to all. Now the authority was expected to register public sector workers and issue them Ghana card for free. This was because the accountant and the accountant general wanted to set up the no Ghana card, no salary system this year. But when they went, they had only 87 public sector workers registering over 5 days. Why is that? So NIA has therefore released a statement, and it says the NIA truncate phase 1 of the Ghana card registration commences phase 2 tomorrow. That's today. Now, the National Identification Authority announces for the information of the general public that phase 1 of the Ghana card registration exercise, which was exclusively reserved for first-time applicants who are public sector workers on the government of Ghana payroll, has come to an end. Phase 1 of the exercise, originally planned to last for 10 days, that is from 28th August to 8th September 2023, has been truncated as a result of the unexpectedly low turnout. The decision to apportion 10 days for phase 1 was based on the figures provided by the Controller and Accountant General's Department, estimating 250,000 to 260,000 public sector workers on GOG payroll to participate in the phase 1. Unfortunately, only 87 of the targeted beneficiaries presented themselves for registration. Thus, phase 2 of the registration exercise will begin Monday, 4th September 2023. This is to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in the use of public resources and to ensure that other members of the public are able to access NIA's services. Well, we've been joined by the Executive Secretary, Professor Ken Atefua. Prof, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, sir, and thank you for having me.
Prof, have we been able to ascertain why only 87 people were able to register over 5 days period?
No, we have not been able to ascertain that, and that is not something that is within our remit. We don't have the resources, the interest, or the ability to make that ascertainment.
Okay.
And the reason is that these are persons who, if indeed they exist as such and are on government of Ghana, payroll, they are public sector workers on government of Ghana payroll, communication would have reached them through the attorney, through the Controller and Accountant General Department, and also through the widespread publicity that NIA gave to this initiative. And so those persons would have been adequately informed of the locations where they could register, which is every single one of the 276 NIA district offices. And as NIA district offices are co-terminals with the constituencies of this country. So instead of 261 districts for the administrative districts we are in 276 all constituencies, including South. Also, the public sector workers could go to any of the 8 regional offices of NIA that are not participating in our premium registration services where fees are charged. And so if they went to such regional offices as Accra, Bolgatanga, Cape Coast, Dambai, Damango, Goso, Naleredi, and Wa, they could get this free service as first-time applicants. So having given them the information, having given them the opportunity, having opened our doors to them and made our resources and services available, and assessing the performance for the first 5 weeks, it was our determination that no useful purpose to be served by keeping the offices open exclusively to this category of targeted beneficiaries, and that prudence and the efficient and effective application of public resources, time and facilities ought to be our watchword, and therefore we should open up the aperture, the space, for all Ghanaians who are qualified, that is, Ghanaians age 16 and above, who are first-time applicants to access our services.
Which means that there's opportunity for the public sector workers will not be given back to them again.
No, there's no need. The evidence is clear. There is no need to do that. It will be, I think, a waste for resources, quite solid, to, as it were, give this opportunity back to public sector payroll, public sector workers on Government of Ghana payroll. They have been given the opportunity. The opportunity will remain open to them as ordinary members of the Ghanaian public, not as a specialized category of people who were being targeted as we did last week. So the opening is available to all Ghanaians age 15 and above. And those public sector workers on Government of Ghana payroll who have not yet registered and who were unable to take advantage of the opportunity last week may still do so from today till eternity. There is always the time to do it. There is no barrier to the ability to do it, to get registered.
So, there was a target we're working towards. Where are we now in terms of the people we've registered and the people whose cards we've delivered to them? How many cards do we have that people have not come to collect?
No, sorry, I'm not sure what you mean. You said there was a target we're working. Are you referring to the target with respect to public sector payroll work?
No. I mean the general populace. You want to register a certain amount of people? Yes, yeah.
Sure. Okay, so then please pose your question again. I'm sorry.
So I wanted to find out from you, with the general populace, the number of people you want to register, how many have we done? How many have received their cards? How many are yet to receive their cards?
Okay, sorry. When the gentleman called me for this conversation, I was driving and I parked by the roadside.
Okay.
He indicated that you wanted to talk about the public sector payroll workers and the truncation of the process. So I'm not. I didn't advert my mind to the issues you are raising, and I'm not equipped with the latest registration statistics as I say last week. But I can tell you in general that we have roughly 31 million Ghanaians. We started with about 24 million Ghanaians when we were planning to do mass registration in 2028. At that time, our target was 80% of the population aged 15 and above. By the end of mass registration in September 2020, after COVID and all of that, and the mop-up and the special card issuance list and all of that, we had registered about 16 million Ghanaians, 16.3, I believe. Now, since then, we have, since November 3rd, 2020, One, we have opened 276 district offices, co-terminus with the constituencies, and we have also opened 16 regional offices. Through the operation of these offices and the special registration centers we opened up at Accra Sports Stadia, Elwa Stadia, Ho Stadia, and many others, Tamale and other places, Kumasi and the rest. And through the institutional registration and household registration, by which we are able to go into institutions and households and register persons there at their request if they have 100 persons or 5 persons or more, respectively, at a statutory fee. Through these arrangements, we have been able to register an additional roughly 2 million people. And so we now have about 17.4 something, I don't have the exact figure, but we have about 17.4 million Ghanaians captured on the National Identity Register. Then out of that number, we have about 16 point, again, I'm not 100% sure because I could give you that in about 20-30 minutes, but we have about 16.5 or 16.6 million Ghanaians who actually have the card in their hands. Then there are about 600 or so thousand cards that have not been issued to people. Out of this number, some of the cards are in various states of adjudication. That is to say, some of them have a problem. Some people have changed their identities without recourse to lawful means, and their applications have joined a queue of problem applications to be investigated. For example, where somebody changes their name from what it was when they registered during President Kufuor's time, or when they registered under President Mahama or President Mills before him, and did not get their card, or even got a card, but are now eligible for the new regime of Ghana card. But the name they used was John Mensah, and now they come and they say they are Johnson Mensah, and they have added H or deleted H from the added H, the Mensah or deleted H, without providing any legal documentation in support of that. The application will conflict with the old one, and it will go into adjudication. And problems in adjudication are to be solved on a case-by-case basis, and that is very time-consuming, given that there is also a large number of people who are seeking to register. So there's a long queue for that. Then there are those who have also changed their date of birth, some seeking to be 10 years or 3 years or some months younger, or some genuinely correcting an error, not seeking to dupe the nation, as some of them are seeking to do. But whatever it is, they have not gone through the proper procedures of establishing legally that they are entitled to change that name, and they are doing so in accordance, that date of birth, and they are doing so in accordance with law. All such applications, which clash with the earlier record, also go into adjudication and have to be investigated. Then there is a third category. There are people who, for whatever reason, even though at the time of capturing their data, it was duly captured, their biometrics, that is to say, their face, their iris or eye, and their fingerprints were correctly captured. However, when it comes to printing the card, you find that the records have disappeared. It's a very infinitesimal number of people, but it is a reality nonetheless that their records cannot be found. And then there are few cases also where the records actually exist, but you issue the command and the card cannot be printed. So all of these are issues, and they form part of these applications form part of those that have not been issued. But, sir, the bulk of unissued cards are cards belonging to persons who registered during the mass registration at a registration center near their locality.
Okay.
But who have since not gone to the registration centers who did not go to back to the registration test when we were doing mass registration, or have since not gone to the district office where the cards have now been relocated to have the cards issued to them. You see, our cards have to be issued to people. They cannot be distributed through the post. They cannot and ought not be distributed or given to relatives to go and give to, and friends to go and give to people. We have to be certain that you are who you say you are and that you are the person we have given the card to. It is for that reason that we require people to present themselves physically at our offices so that the card is issued to them biometrically. However, given the reality that some people made genuine efforts, went to our registration centers a couple of times, and for whatever reason, we were also unable to print their cards and give to them because, for example, network connectivity challenge or, shortage of consumables, although that was never the issue during mass registration, but as an explanation for today. Given that we were unable to serve everyone who ought to have been served during mass registration, we've taken it upon ourselves to go back into the community to issue the cards to them away from our offices, plugging into local calendars, local market days and community festivities and events of that nature. And we have been helped in that regard by a number of members of parliament, a number of MMDCs MMDCs and cultural and administrative heads in the regions and districts, some of whom have made either a pickup truck and vehicle or fuel or ration or some amount of money possible, and the police accompanying some of our district officers to go into the community to issue the cards. And that has happened especially since February 2023. And so I could give you the exact figures later, but the ballpark general idea as at about a week ago is what I've spoken to in broad strokes.
Interesting. So if I'm to go and register now, the assurance is that I don't need to pay a dime to get registered, right?
If that is so, sir. If you go to the offices I mentioned earlier, Accra, Bolgatanga, Cape Coast, Dambai, Damango, Gosu, Naleregu, and Wa, and any of our 276 district offices. There, at these places, is free, of course. If you go there as a first-time applicant, you've never applied, you go there as a first-time applicant, it's free of charge. But if you go to any of the other registration regional offices where we are doing premium registration, then you will pay 280 fees. And that's at home, Koporubia, Kumasi, Sunyani, Sekirioso, Takrade, Tamale, and Ekima. And finally, if you go for a replacement of your lost, stolen, or damaged card at any of our offices, you will pay the fee prescribed by Parliament, which is 34 cedis and 50 pesos. And that service is also available at all the offices that I mentioned.
Okay. Usually you hear people say when you go to the head office, you pay some money and then you get it done.
Yes.
That is
true. That is true to the extent that the head office here is a premium registration center. You see, when we finish mass registration, we set up premium registration centers as by law required. Now we had initially set up only at the head office. And it was like going to get a visa at DFS or Movenpick. You book an appointment. That is the system still here. You are required to book an appointment, select a time you want to be here, and pay the fee that is prescribed by Parliament online or at the Ecobank branch. When you do that and you say, I want to come and register at 10:30 a.m. on 4th September 2023, By the time you get here, an officer is happily seated and waiting for you. But the reality is that after SIM card registration announcement was made and the deadline was approaching, people massed up at our head office here in Accra without making an appointment. So even though our established daily capacity may be to serve, let's say, 120 people at the head office through the premium service, you can have about 2,000 people massing up at our gate. This avalanche of demand by people who have not made appointments and who you cannot say, go home. You can't just say you won't be responsive to the legitimate needs of people to get a service, even if they are not using the legitimate procedures. It forces you then to adapt and to adjust your arrangements in order to meet them. That is why we set up special registration points at Elwak Stadium and Accra Sports Stadium and all the other stadia that I mentioned. And that is why we were also compelled to put up canopies and tents at our premises to serve this, avalanche to meet the avalanche of demand. Unfortunately, when it rains, when it's windy, it creates issues and it's heartbreaking. But it is because of this that we also expanded the premium registration centers, set up one at Cowbank head office on Independence Avenue, and then have since set up in the other cities I mentioned, Ho, Koforidua, Kumasi, Sunyani, we also Takrade, Tamale, and Techiman. And we are seeking to, within the next month, establish offices in premium registration centers in all the regional capitals. And once that happens, we will have free services happening in the regional offices and the paid services also happening at the premium centers within the regional capitals where we will set them up. Of course, it is subject to a viability test. You want to be sure that if you set up a premium registration center in Dubai, that it will indeed get traction, that people will patronize it, that you won't have workers sitting there idle. You want to be sure that if you set it up in any of the other cities that are regional capitals, that it will be economically viable. So all of these are matters that we are exploring, and wherever we have set up, it is because we are satisfied that those minimum preconditions have been met, and that at least we can operate it and test it for maybe 3 months or so. And finally, if I may, you asked an important question, and a fuller answer requires me to add that the target population, therefore, with the updated statistics from Statistical Service, no longer the 24 million, but the 31 million, the current population. That means that we must go beyond what was our target initially. Now, our target then is 19 million, I think 19.2 or thereabouts million of the population that is age 15 and above. So if you look at that population cohort, 15 and above, then NIA has registered 17.4 million, as I indicated. That roughly leaves us with about 2.5 million people who are age 15 and above, but who have not yet registered for the Ghana card. Now, the 2.5 million people, NIA has the capacity, physical and personnel capacity, to register all of them before the end of this year, subject to the availability of blank cards. We recently received 484,000 blank cards. That's what we have deployed for use at our offices in the special registration exercise that has been the subject of your conversation with me this morning. So our target is to reach about 19.2 or so million, and I'm confident that we can meet that target by the end of the year. And that will mean that anyone who is eligible to register would have had the opportunity to do so, 2.5 million. And it should put shut to a number of controversies in this country, including voter registration, because 15 years and above, the total population outstanding unregistered is 2.5 million. If you capture them, and NIA can only register people who present themselves. People must be willing to present themselves to be registered.
Okay.
So it cannot be that at any time, at time 2-1, NIA can say that it has registered all Ghanaians who are eligible, that is from age 15 and above. But I can assure you that anyone who presents themselves for registration, we will, subject to availability of blank cards, be able to register them. We have indeed started the registration of children aged 0 to 6. We started on the 1st of August. It is happening as a partnership between, or a collaboration between NIA and Birth and Death Registry and the Ministry of Health. It's a technical solution that doesn't have a lot of human interface. And so not a lot of people are hearing about it. But when a child has an identity, established sociological identity by, say, age 6 years, that is to say when the parents have named the child, and it's not just a child with a mother's name, baby mama, but, the child has a real name, they go for weighing or whatever, whenever they come into interaction with the medical and therapeutic community, or health facilities, that the health personnel and the birth and death registry would capture the details of the child and the parents and then transmit that through a technical to NIA. NIA will then generate a unique personal identification number for that child and peg it to that of the mother. And when the child is 6 years old, a Ghana card, a smart Ghana card, can be issued to the child, will be issued to the child, or a 2D barcode, two-dimensional barcode card can be issued to the child before the 6 years of age. So we have everyone captured from, the beginning of life. So we do away with this phenomenon of football age and all these other controversies around election, of identity and age and the rest of them. And then there is also the second gap.
Prof, can I ask you a question on that one?
Sure.
Is this being done throughout the country, or you are starting from a certain point?
Oh, it's been done throughout the country. The piloting was done in July. It's available at all medical facilities. That's what is supposed to happen, yes.
Okay.
Where birthing takes place, yes.
Okay. So it means that if they take a child to the weighing or to the clinic, his information would have to be taken and then transmitted to you for the child to have the identity.
That's right. Okay. And the only condition is that the parents must have named the child, so the child has a unique identity from the parents. Yes. And we are interested in registering Ghanaians, so that's why Birth and Death Registry also comes in, that we are satisfied that this child is a Ghanaian, has been issued with a birth certificate, so we can capture the birth certificate number or other serial number that the Birth and Death Registry would provide. And then we would have done also a unique, a unique testing, a liveness test. We want to be sure that the mother is the mother of the child, that this is not a child trafficking case, this is not a stolen, the case of a stolen child. That so we do a liveness test. The mother must take a picture, not a picture of a picture, but the mother's picture and the mother's Ghana card. You must take a picture, a live Ghana card picture, and present. And then, of course, that coupled with the child's own particulars that I've described. And then we do a liveness test of that also. These are all technical processes that are done through software. And when these processes are satisfied, that is when they will be transmitted NIA, and when NIA has satisfied itself that these are legit, that is when a unique personal identification number is generated and stored in the database.
All right, grateful to you, but kindly stay with us. A lot more people are bringing in their thoughts and asking questions about the process. I'm sure that once we have you, very open executive secretary, you'll be willing to answer some of the questions for us. He's done great education this morning. We're continuing. You can join us with your concerns as well. What are your questions about the Ghana card? You can ask that, and the executive secretary, Professor Ken Atefua, would help address your concerns for us here on the AM show. So the numbers will be rolling on the screen. You can pick that and give us a call so that you can ask your questions, and then Prof would answer that for us. This is still the AM show here on the Joy News channel. We'll put the number across on the screen very, very shortly, and then you can call in, bring your concerns, and Prof would answer that for us. Prof, so you were moving on to another angle when I stopped you and asked that question. You might want to continue for us now.
Yes. I'm just saying that there is also a second cohort of the population that has not yet been captured, and that is those aged between 6 and 14. Remember, we started mass registration from 15 and above. So those aged 6 to 14, we are also planning to commence their registration. The only thing we're waiting for is blank cards. Once we have adequate blank cards, we will begin the registration of Ghanaians aged 6 and 14, aged between 6 and 14. For that, we'll be working with the National Health Insurance Authority, who are our collaborators on this program, and of course, working through Ghana Education Service and all the stakeholders, reaching this cohort of the population wherever they are gathered in kindergartens and primary schools and JSS and the rest of them. Yes. So the expectation is that within a year, and all the children come up to about 12 million people. So we have about 2.5 million for those age 15 and above.
Okay.
And then we have roughly 12 million for those who are between 0 and 14.
Okay.
So this cohort of the population, these two cohorts, we can capture, maximum within a year.
Okay.
And in that sense, that is when you could say that most Ghanaians, if not all Ghanaians, have been captured.
Okay.
And that's our target.
Okay.
The current population estimate from the Statistical Service put the figure a little beyond the 31 million we all knew about a year ago. So
okay, Prof. Kindly hold the line for me. There's a caller on the line who has a question. Mustafa is calling us from Ashaima. Mustafa, good morning to you. What's your question?
Hello, good morning, sir. Yeah, please, I'm calling from Ashama. I would like to know where can I get a district office within my locality as a first time register.
Where can you get what?
NIA district office within Ashama.
NIA registration office within Ashama as a first timer. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm grateful.
I wouldn't know the answer to that question on a district by district basis. I don't have that list with me. But if you contact the district assembly or municipal assembly, the NIA offices are located, most of them are located at the MMDA.
Okay.
So if in a few cases we are in rented premises, so if you go to the assembly as the first point of call and we are not located there, I am more than certain they can direct you to the right place.
Okay. Interesting. You can also give us a call 0302211692. If you have a question about NIA, we are on with the Executive Secretary. It would help in addressing your answers, your concerns for you. So do call us now and let's understand what your question is about the Ghana card. 0302211692. 2. You can call and join us. Prof, as we wait for people to join us. Okay. Okay, Fred from Ofanko. Fred, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Let's hear you, sir.
Yeah, I want to ask Prof that my wife had a change of name, and she went to Ofanko district office to do the change of name over there. And they said you have to go to the head office. I don't know whether the last time we went to the head office, and the number of people over there was so huge that we couldn't even wait. And you need the NIA card to do 1 or 2 things. So I don't know what are the possible easiest ways that we can do so that we can get our card.
Okay. So your wife has a new name and you wanted to do a change of name, right?
Yes.
But they said they couldn't do that off Anchor unless you go to the head office.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Prof would answer for you, okay? Hello, Prof. Do we have you?
I'm here.
Great. So that's his question. That is why I wanted to do a change of name, but it couldn't happen at Ofanko. They said unless she comes to the head office.
Yes. So unless you go to head office, we have 2 dimensions. If you go to a district, there was a period. The first question issue to address is when did the wife go to the Ofanko office? Because there was a time when we just didn't have the blank card. And when you make a change in name, a new card has to be printed for you. And the district officers didn't have that facility, so we couldn't do that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is a technical question of ascertaining the completeness of that application process. And that was not being done at the district offices. We're doing that at the regional and the regional offices and the headquarters. It's the risk of leaving that at that time, given that power, we're still testing it and testing the system, giving power to all the regional and district offices across the country. We could have chaos with people changing names and dates of birth and all of that. So it's centralized. The approval process is centralized. You make an application, you can make it anywhere, but the approval will come from headquarters. And after it has been properly examined by the technical and legal personnel whose job it is to do that. So I do not know the specifics of what it was, why they told her to go to the headquarters. But I can assure you, I'm speaking with you from the headquarters. If you send your correspondents or journalists to come and see the situation here, there's quite a lot of people here, but it's not like last week. Because now people are going to the regional and district offices that I've talked about. And there are no long queues. And so the situation should ease out. And Fred's wife should be able to access the service. If you were to come up, unfortunately, she's in Accra, Fanko, and head office here at South Legon, Shiashi. It's not too much of a journey, and I will entreat her, if it is still a live matter, for her to try that, so it's not go to a Fanko and then go to head office again.
I'm told we have Nicholas from Bechele on the line. Nicholas, good morning.
Hello.
Hi, Nico. Let's hear you.
Hello.
Hello, Nicholas.
Hello. Yes. Hello.
I can hear you, sir.
Robert. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I have a problem. I registered in Tamale. I want to change my name. Does it mean I can only change the name in Tamale, or I can change it at any part of the country?
Okay.
You can change your name anywhere in the country. You don't have to go to Tamale. You just have to make sure that your documentation is right and proper. And that must we insist. So yes, you are at liberty to change your name, but it must be in accordance with law. And if you present the documentation at any of us, since you are in Accra, I thought I heard you say so, but if you are in Accra, you can have it changed at the head office, and that should be fine.
Okay.
But you can make the application anywhere. You don't have to go to Tamale.
Prof, I'm so grateful to you for this morning, and the service you rendered to us is huge. Grateful. So that's Professor Ken Atefa. He's Executive Secretary for the National Identification Authority, NIA. This is still the AM show. Well, we'll just take a quick break. We will be back with Ojiahoho Yaojebi II. He is the president of the National House of Chiefs. Stay with us. All right, so welcome back to the AM show. And today, because we have royalty in the house, we're having an extended version of the AM show. We have been joined by Ojiahoho Yaojebi II. He is the paramount chief of Ahriaso traditional area, the president of the House of Chiefs, National House of Chiefs, a former president of the Western Region House of Chiefs, and today we are so glad to have him in our studios. Nana matching yeah song.
Yeah, song.
Memo about some family.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, she and an idea any say chance of fiance ya dane kasano.
Okay.
Entina mama chance, yes, sir. So Nana, thank you for coming.
Okay.
I mean, we know that your traditional area is part of the Western North, which was created some few years back. How is the economy like in Ahriaso?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to all your viewers and to all Ghanaians, and to all your listeners. The economy in BBN is buoyant, it's good. My people are basically farmers, but apart from that, we have those who are also into trading, and we have 4 mining companies there. Chirano Gold Mines, Minsin Gold Mines at Viviani, Awaso Bauxite, and then another one at Mrewa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then your area is economically sound.
We are blessed. We also have timber in abundance.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope for the timber they are not being disturbed by illegal miners.
Well, it looks like they have destroyed greater part of the forest, and now we are not having too much problem from illegal loggers.
Okay, so I mean, but illegal miners are not causing.
The illegal miners are causing trouble.
Okay.
They are there, and I will continue to fight them.
Okay. You are fighting them now?
I'm fighting. I've been fighting them. And somewhere 2 years ago, I even bragged that in my area we don't have galamseyers there. But unfortunately, we've started. I don't know whether it's because elections are close by and they think... so I don't know. But I've been fighting them. Okay. Just this week, I sent a team there. And when you look at Crusading Guy front page, something is captured there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as in the team you've sent them, what they're doing?
They have come back with their report, and I have a copy, so we are going to deal with them.
Okay. That's good to hear. I mean, this morning we watched a certain video and how devastating they had destroyed a certain forest. Is that how it is, what we are seeing on the screen? Is that how it is in your area?
Certain parts, yes. Yes. Certain parts of my area, the Ahriaso East Forest Reserve. You are right, they are there.
Wow. But how do they gain entry into those forest reserves?
Well, what do I say? Before you say Jack, somebody will come and tell you the galamseyers are in the forest. So what do we do? Because by the regulations, we are not close to the authority to go and check them. So what we do is that we normally report to the police. When it gets out of hand, then we go to the national security.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And quite often, I invite national security from Accra to go and flash them out.
The regional minister is a friend, Jojo Rocky Obeng.
Yeah, he's also part of the fight against galamsey and illegal mining. Yes.
Why is it so difficult for us to really keep illegal mining under control in our areas?
One is unemployment. 2, when elections are close, the authority of people in power is reduced. They are very careful. They need the numbers to vote for them, so they are very careful. 3, I tend to believe that big persons are also involved. In some cases, Nananum are also involved.
Okay.
And lastly, Nananum are not part of the regulatory regime. So all that we can do is to draw the attention of the police. And sometimes when you draw the attention to them, they also tell you they don't have logistics.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are some of the issues.
Which means that we cannot win the war then against illegal mining.
Well, I believe we can, except that government should vote money, big one, and go out one time. Make sure. Government almost succeeded, especially when they started banning, what do we have? Excavators and so on and so forth. Government almost won, but I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. You remember His Excellency the President said he's
putting his presidency on the line.
On the line. Unfortunately, after the elections, when his vote reduced drastically, I believe the party people advised him. So they have slowed down. That's what I would say. Government has slowed down.
Yeah.
That is my observation.
So it means that if every party is going to be afraid of losing, then we're not going to win this war. We're going to try to say we are doing something, but actually we won't.
That is a problem. Politicians need power. And so they don't mind. Sometimes they even encourage them. You go ahead. When I come to power, I will regularize your activities for you. And this government has also introduced what they call a community mining. Some of them too are not working well. They only select individuals. Then they put all their resources behind them and they do whatever they want to do. Another area is that Nananum are also not contacted even when they allocate plots of land to miners. And in a village, you go and show a paper to a chief. So once the paper is from government with a seal there, he thinks he has the authority to do whatever he wants to do. Except that when it comes to some of the divisional chiefs and the paramount chiefs, we go further to interrogate and make sure that we go further. And sometimes even the area allocated to the miner is different from where he's doing his operations.
Okay. So how do we cure that?
Involve Nananum. We have always demanded involve Nananum. We are there. I have several chiefs under me. And sometimes I tell them, if this thing goes on in your area, I'll hold you responsible. Just about 3 weeks ago, I caused 4 of my chiefs arrested and sent to police station to sign an undertaking. They will never encourage galamsey in their area.
But once they've been arrested, then that's distillment then.
Well, you don't go that far. It's not always that. When sometimes somebody does something wrong, they all gave excuses. Some of them, they were not directly involved. Some of them will tell you, yeah, it is because they even said, you, Nana, Omahene, as sanctioned their presence here and so on and so forth. So what you do is that you caution them and tell them any time anybody mentions my name or the chief executive know whatever, find out from that person whether or not he has actually sanctioned anybody to do operations there. So these are some of the steps we are taking. And at the National House of Chiefs too, we also always talk to our chiefs to ensure that galamsey is not encouraged in areas. But when you go to the forest reserve, they are under the management of a Forestry Commission. So these are areas that we don't go. We don't go there. Even when you do hunting there and you are arrested, you are prosecuted. So sometime before you say, hey, Jack, they are there in their numbers. Excavators, 10, 15, with security people there. So you ask yourself, who authorized the people to go there? And when you go to, you don't get anybody to give you information. So what you do is that you start finding out from the chief executive, from the MP, you come to the Minerals Commission, and so on and so forth. And at each point, most of them will tell you, we don't know the presence of such a group there. So what it means is that you, the chief yourself, you use your resources to ask national security to come and go and flash them. That is when, if you have the resources yourself,
to do it.
Yes.
If you don't have it, then that's it.
So you throw your hands into the air.
But why haven't the 4 mining companies in the area still helped to deal with illegal mining?
Well, as far as their concessions are concerned, people are not there. Once a while, you get the local boys who go and do small galamsey area there. Those ones are not serious.
Okay.
I'm referring to a forest that has not been allocated, and then people go in there to do the illegal mining.
Yeah.
In effect, what it is that it doesn't have an owner. In quote,
Yeah.
it doesn't have an owner. So before you are aware, a group is there working, and if it doesn't come to your notice, how do you flash them out? That is it.
I was thinking that with the 4 mining companies in the area, it could help reduce the illegal mining, because the mining companies will obviously be employing the people.
Thank you. The mining companies, yes, when they can, we normally sign employment agreement with them. But some of them also claim that our people are not skilled enough for certain jobs, which is true. And you know that in some cases we demand about 60% to 80% of the basic jobs are done by our people.
Okay.
But where, for example, you can't get anybody who can operate a machine, a new machine which is about $3 million, certainly you cannot force the company to engage somebody from the community. And to address this situation, I have been able to establish contact with UMAT, University of
Mines and
Technology, Takwa, to establish a study center.
Okay.
In fact, gearing towards establishing a university. But because they haven't got accreditation for the degree courses, they have started giving skill training to people in the area.
Okay.
And it's my hope they've started. The first group, which was admitted, there are about 44. It is my hope that going forward, we will get the skills in the area so that they can get employment. It doesn't also mean that they have not engaged some of our people. They have, but we would have wished that as many of them as possible. But the limitation is that, of course, if you cannot operate a machine, why do they employ you?
For how long has this skills training center been in existence?
Oh, no, just about 3 months ago.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the way of giving skills to your people so that they can be employed by the mining companies.
So now what they are doing is that they are doing drilling, giving them training, HFC, HSC, and welding and fabrication, stuff like that. It's about 6 or so programs. But they have about 12 programs.
Okay.
And aside of that, when you finish, then they promote some of them to do diploma, which also lead to a degree.
Okay.
So we hope that in the next year or 2, they will have acquired the accreditation for the degree and other courses. I have also spoken with the mining companies, the 4 of them, and they have also agreed in principle, so that these students can from time to time be sent to them for practical training. Okay. They have sophisticated machines that they use to train people.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. It's really a good move.
Thank you.
To get your people employed by way dealing with illegal mining, because you expect that
once they get employed in the main mining sector, they will stop the galamsey.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it doesn't stop.
Well, I wouldn't, even that's where the strong will reduce it drastically.
Sure. Do you know how many people in total the 4 companies are employing? It's huge.
It's huge. It's huge.
Because Chirano alone is a very big one. Yeah.
BNE alone. In the morning, when you see the number of buses dropping staff, there are many. Some are doing exploration, some are doing the rare mining, some are administration, and so on and so forth.
Okay. What is the impact of the mining on the BNE economy itself?
It used to be good. It used to be good, especially when AGBL was there. And again, even when Resolute took over and never operated the mine, they were also keeping maintenance here and there, helping the community, the municipal assembly, giving scholarships here and there, helping us to build up schools. But unfortunately, the new company now, which is called the Asante Group, when Resolute could not operate, because we later on heard that Resolute had acquired a mine in Mali or something, which was probably more prosperous than the BBNE one. So they were dragging their feet. So myself and a few people started a drive to attract people. The Chinese came and they brought a very good social agreement to us, affecting education, sanitation, what have you. Along the line, then this Asante Group also came in. This Asante Group is basically a Ghanaian company. So we all bought into it, even though we felt the Chinese could do better. We also wanted to encourage our own
Ghanaian, yes.
A Ghanaian. And we thought if he was successful, then other Ghanaians too will learn from it. But so far, we are not impressed at all.
With Asante Gold?
With Asante Gold at all. At all. We are not impressed. One, we did a public hearing about 18 months ago. And so they were to divert certain rules between BBN and GOSO.
Okay.
What we have observed is that now they keep on changing. And once you change, we have EPA. EPA must be informed. The community must also be engaged to tell us why you want to now move from the first project to B or C. They don't do that. The other point is that they were to relocate or resettle the old town in Zongo people. And I've given them 500 acres of land. Of course, they have to pay, what do we call it, customary drinks. Now, I've not collected a dime from them, even though I have slaughtered a sheep, poured libation, and done everything and given the land to them.
Okay.
Aside for the customary drinks, they can come anytime. But as I tell you, they have not done much on the land. And by EPA regulation, they should never mine less than 500 meters to a settlement. But as we speak, they are about 50. And in a particular case, where there's a Zongo Old Town School, JHS, and primary school, they are 30 meters.
Hey.
And they do blasting and stones fall into the school. And so sometimes they inform the school that blasting will be done. So what do? They close down the school. I have been there myself when the school around 10:30 and the school was closed. And when I inquired, I was told that they told them they will be doing blasting. So the head teacher, so quickly I called the municipal director of education and she confirmed that the head teacher called to say that they were going to do blasting and he was afraid it might affect any of their children. So they have been doing it from time to time, which is also against the rules. Again, you asked about its impact on the economy. Even though they have given jobs to local contractors, they are all to pre-finance. So people are going in for loans, doing job, and they don't give them anything. My understanding of pre-finance is that when you start, you do it up to a certain level. You are giving some money.
Exactly, yes.
But this one, no. So now they approach their bankers and nobody wants to listen to them. So the resettlement have not done it and they still want to do the mining. And because of this, I and some of my chiefs went to the mining company to meet the management at Bibiani on 25th of August. And I wanted to find out why they were not doing the resettlement and why they were also breaking all the rules here and there. After that, I think they sent message to Accra, that's the head office. So I got message that the Malik who is the CEO, and Mr. Takuma, who is the Vice President, and others will be visiting. Indeed, they came on the 26th August. So when they came, Malik just ignored us, snubbed us. Why? Because as soon as they came, we sat down. I demanded that we visited the site first before discussions. Because I knew they had come there to persuade me or to convince me to assess certain things. And the basis of my argument was that the mining was
close to the
settlements. So I just wanted, we went there, he didn't come. So, of course...
he came to your palace first?
He came to my house, is directly opposite the mine, BBNE.
Okay, so, and then you said you should move to the site. But when you moved, he didn't come?
He didn't come. And it was other Takuma and others. We expected to came back. And we thought he would even give us a call. He never joined us before. And what we heard was that he's gone back to Kumasi to pick his flight back to Accra. And up to now, not even a call to me to tell me that he was sorry, maybe something prevented him or something.
Wow.
Okay.
And this is Asante Gold.
This is Asante Gold.
The Ghanaian you thought you wanted to help.
Yes.
Against at the expense of the Chinese.
Yes.
And he's the one disrespecting.
Yes.
Okay.
Aside of this, they are not paying their contractors. PW started with about 70 plus trucks. Now they are operating with just about 6. Why? Because they owe them a lot. They are not paying. And what is the effect is that they have asked some of the workers
to go home.
So these are some of the upheavals. Aside of that, PW, we also have people who are doing drilling for the company. And they have all stopped because they are also not getting paid. And if a mining company stops doing drilling, then how do you go ahead?
Yeah.
Aside of that, my information from my people is that some roads are blocked, stones fly into farms, and the farms themselves, no compensation is being paid. Only a few people have been paid compensation. In most cases, even the evaluation has not been done.
Wow.
So apart from that, we also go to the resettlement. People were there, so sit down with them, evaluate their property and pay them. They have done some of them, but they are not paying them. So I don't see the economic impact that it has, or rather the arcading industries in the area. PW, for example, has threatened to lay off some of its workers.
PW is a contractor of this company.
To do the mining for them, PW.
Okay.
Yeah, for them. And indeed, if care is not taken, and the way Malik or the CEO is handling the business is not taken, he will leave people with debts. Aside of this, I also know that Ghana government has money through MIF.
Yeah. Mineral Income Investment
Fund. There. They have also gone to Bank of Ghana for loan. So if all these things are not checked, and the way he's running the business.
Oh, so what you mean is that MIF has invested into gold?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Ghana government also wants to encourage indigenous businesses. They have also invested there. And anytime you want to deal with anybody, they will tell you, well, we'll see the CEO. And nothing comes from the CEO. But the only time I got him was when he came to me and snubbed me. And right now, I believe he's out of the country. That is not even important. What is important is that every 2 weeks, they come for the gold. So what do they use the money for?
Oh.
They are not paying statutory fees.
Really?
Like royalties are not paid. Even concession rent are still now outstanding. This is illegal.
But concession rent and royalties are supposed to be paid to who?
No, to
the Minerals Commission.
Minerals Commission, administrators to lands. Well, all royalties are paid to GRA. And then GRA will do the disbursement, what will go to consolidated fund, what will go to the blah, 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 blah. What comes to Nananum will go to administrators to lands. That's about 10%. And after the 10%, they take 1% and share the 9% between the municipal assembly and the SUs. For 1 year, 8 months, they are not paying. Okay. Aside of this, workers' provident fund are also in arrears.
Hey.
Yes. Workers' provident fund are also in arrears. And these are all illegalities. And I don't know. As I sit here, I even suspect that they are not even paying income tax on the salaries that they are paying. That's my feeling. Nobody has told me. Because if they are not paying provident fund, they are not paying royalties, they are not paying this, that. And certainly, and they don't care. He doesn't care because he thinks he has government's money in the business. That's my thinking.
Okay.
And if care is not taken, so this statement I'm making, I am pleading to government, to all people concerned, that they should go to BBN, intervene, and find out what is happening there. Otherwise, the business will collapse. And when it collapses, what happens? He will leave and then leave debt for the local people. Granting that you are a supplier and they owe you $500,000.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. If you took loan from a bank, what is the guarantee that the new company can pay you when? And even do we know even if a new company will even take over immediately? So these are some of the issues.
So
go back to the impact. Yes, Awaso is also employing.
But let's stay with this a little, because someone would ask, what evidence do you have? I mean, when it comes, okay, for the royalties, I mean, you are an evidence yourself. You are not receiving it. But when it comes to the payment of the statutory payment on the salaries of their workers,
some workers also go to find out. Some workers also have a way of finding out if they are paying what I'm referring to. And if it is not paid, you can always find out whether your employers are paying you
or
not. Yes. So that's why I got my...
But if they have not resettled the people and they are mining 30 meters to a school, that is against the regulation. What is Minerals Commission doing? Because Minerals Commission is supposed to ensure that the right things are done.
That is under EPA. EPA, I know, has engaged them, spoken to them, and EPA has called for a meeting on Thursday between me and them.
This coming Thursday?
This current Thursday.
Okay.
So current Thursday, some of my chiefs and myself, we are going to meet with them. And I believe they are going to take action. Because if they don't take action, they will also be part of the problem. But I believe they wouldn't want to be part of the problem. Aside of this, because of the blasting, you know, we have air pollution and noise pollution.
Sure.
And I went to the hospital, invited the hospital group, invited what is happening. And they admit that upper respiratory diseases are going up.
In the area?
In the area. The records are there to show. And so we all attribute it to BBN. And it is, especially when the people come, they ask them about their localities.
Okay.
And those who are many come from Zongo and the Old Town.
Where the Asante Gold is undertaking its mining activities.
Exactly. So these are the problems we are facing. You see, my concern is that in an establishment like this, you could deal with the people at the mine. But when you go, you won't get any information. All they say is that we will relate to
the CEO in Accra.
In Accra. And nothing happens. And you want to engage the CEO, you don't get him. If you are lucky to meet him, he will sit down with you 2 minutes, he will pick his call, so I have a call, I'll get back to you, not to be the end of it.
Wow.
So we want government, EPA, Minerals Commission to be up and doing. If the guy and his group cannot do the mining, they should find, what do we call it, people who can, we can even look around for people to come and take over. Because their share price is also dropping. It used to be 2.2, it's now about 1.3.
This is not good news for.
It's not good news
for the local economy. We are trying to get local people to take into, large-scale gold exploration, and if this is going to fail, it won't inspire other people to also take it up then.
Precisely.
Interesting.
I wanted to go to Awaso another.
Yeah. So let's talk about
Awaso. Also, the Chinese were there. They left, but a Ghanaian has taken over.
Oh, a Ghanaian.
A Ghanaian.
Okay.
What they are doing is that they are continue to do the haulage. And my last discussion with them, they have the bigger picture of going to aluminium production, but they want to settle first before they go there. Then, so
is Opoma in your area?
Where?
Opoma.
No.
Okay.
It's in Wasamemfi.
Okay.
Then we come to Chirano.
Okay.
Chirano also doing relatively well, but this guy went and bought Chirano.
Which guy?
Malik.
The Asante. Oh, he's going to buy Chirano.
What motivated? He's bought it.
Okay.
Him to buy Chirano, and now Chirano is under Asante.
Okay.
So problems we are facing in BBN, these problems are also cropping up at Chirano.
Oh.
And finally, the insult of it, Malik has companies which take scrap away from BBN. Scrap is waste. Waste generated in the kitchen is waste.
Yeah.
Waste in our toilets is waste. But because this one has value, it takes it away. Which means if the scrap didn't have value, they also leave them over there. But over there in my area, scraps are not taken by the company. It's for the community.
Yeah.
In the community, the chiefs and some selected committees. And that is what we use to help the community. For example, Chirano, when it was under King Ross, we used the sales from this thing to buy computers, to support schools, and we have supported BBN Hospital, UOSO Hospital, bought laptops for some of the schools by this guy. So he's taking away everything.
He's not giving the community some.
So please, if care is not taken, there will be confrontation.
Really?
Oh, sure. Sure. If after our meeting with EPA in Accra here, nothing good comes out of it, there will be a lot of, confrontation.
But that's his decision to take, whether he would give the scraps to you or not.
Forget about even that. We are talking about the totality of the whole thing. As for the scrap, we can handle that. We may even go and stop. And BBN mine started in 1925. Some of this scrap we want to take away were put there by a British company. You have now come, and instead of you working, paying people to work to develop the mine, you are interested in scrap, which has been accumulated there. What value has he added to the scrap? Nothing. So that is the problem we are going through.
Have you, relayed this information to the ministry responsible?
Yes, I have.
What have they done?
I'm still looking up. Since there has not been any improvement, I believe that they haven't done anything. I'm still pressing. I have.
Wow.
Minerals Commission. So the last meeting I'm going to have will be with EPA. They are doing very well. You tell them they take action. But this time around, my demand will be they should stop operations and complete the resettlement.
Okay.
Yes, before they continue.
That's your demand?
Yes, because we won't sit down for our people to die. They didn't have all these problems. Now you have diverted their roads. Of course, in some areas you give them buses, but in new areas you have not given them buses to take them to their farms. I'm concerned more about the health issues, and then the effect that it is having on Zongo Old Town, JHS, and the primary school. I'm very much concerned. And this is not the first place where mining is going on. Takwa, when there was the need to do it, they did a resettlement first. Amanse resettlement all other places. And the EPA public hearing, it was there. We all agreed that there should be the
resettlement first. Yeah, because they
So I'm asking them, yes, we have a very big concession. If you think you are not ready, then move it far away to the other part of the concession to work, which will not directly impact on the health of the people.
So mining is really important in your locality.
Very, very started. I don't know when. The olden days, our people also doing galamsey, but what they were doing, they were sinking holes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So it didn't impact negatively. And those days, too, most of the time, when people were hard pressed and they would go and do this thing, after clearing the addresses, they go back to their farming and other activities. But this time, mining is very, very important.
Okay.
And these are the 4 big mines in my area.
And 2 of them are being run by a Ghanaian. But
he's messing up.
Anyway, once you are the president of the House of Chiefs, let's talk about chieftaincy as well.
Okay.
How troubling is the whole chieftaincy institution in Ghana?
Well, the Minister for National Security says that about 65 to 70% of all security issues are centered around chieftaincy. He may be right. Why? Because our society is centered around chieftaincy. But if you want local governance properly, it's all about the chiefs. Every village, a chief is there. So he may be right, but then one may ask, why do we have so many chieftaincy problems? The National House of Chiefs and others are not well resourced to handle chieftaincy issues.
Really?
Yes. Look, the National House of Chieftaincy is treated as if we are secondary school students. So when they want to send money, it's per head. Before we organize meetings, they know that we are 80 in the National House of Chiefs. Other regions, they know the number. So they send money according to our number. And if I tell you, as president of the National House of Chiefs, my sitting allowance is 300 Ghana cedis. My hotel accommodation is 300 Ghana cedis. So ask about the other members, what amount they are giving. And give me 300 Ghana cedis when a chief also doesn't travel alone. I have a driver and maybe a servant or something. So I have to look for hotel for them, feed them. That is one. The other one is that we need funds to handle the judicial cases. Courts are sitting every day, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we have about 5 judicial committees. And they are prepared to work throughout the year. But the vote is so small, so when it is exhausted, they all come to the last. That is one. 2, as I speak right now, some of the regions don't have council. And councils must be recruited by government and posted to the various regional houses of chief. My own region, Western North, we don't have one.
Oh, you don't have a lawyer for the house?
2, Bono East, they don't have one, and others. The National House of Chiefs is an appellate body where all cases go on appeal. We have only one lawyer. And we have made several requests to the extent that at a certain point, when I took over, I even requested that we are giving laptops so that some of our meetings, because the sitting allowances is 300 and so on, so why don't we sit in the comfort of our palaces and have the discussion? Then the National House of Chiefs, when we meet as a group, instead of one day, we could sit for 2 days. And I started this thing more than 4 years ago.
It hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked. So yes. But the other aspect too is that what personally I've observed is that Ghanaians always quarrel about competition. So it is not only about chieftaincy. Look at what is happening at the political scene. MPP, NDC. anything about competition, there is always fracas. So we need to examine ourselves. We don't want to accept defeat graciously. So yes, I know there are a number of chieftaincy issues, but if we had the, what do you call it? The funding, the resources, who dispose of them in no time.
Is it just about funding or about some entrenched positions that some of the chiefs do take?
Entrenched positions like what?
I mean, sometimes feuding parties have come to the Judiciary Committee. You know that if there could be compromises, a lot of the challenges would have been solved, but they are not willing to.
Yeah, we have ADR, but ADR, the groups must subject themselves to the ADR. If they don't, you don't go into arbitration, right? They have to submit themselves to the arbitration, and they must understand that once the ruling is given, that to be final. We have been doing it, but I would have wished that we could handle more of these cases under the ADR. So yes, as for the panel members, they are always ready to work. They don't take an entrenched position. Yeah, they don't take.
No, I'm not even looking at the panel. I'm looking at for example, if myself and my family, we have an issue, we are disputing over who is the rightful owner.
If you take an entrenched person, that's why we have the Judicial Committee there. They will handle the case.
Okay.
If you wouldn't subject yourself to arbitration, we'll handle the case. Once you have the resources, some of them, they sit about 2 or 3 times, and the case is disposed of.
So now, going forward, just in about a minute, what do you think should be done so that all of these challenges, I mean, Western region, too many issues. You go to all the places throughout Ghana, there are several issues. What must be done in a minute?
In a minute, what must be done is that we should keep on educating our chiefs, educating our people we have been doing. Sometimes we invite resource persons to address them. Secondly, resources must be made available to the National House of Chiefs. The courts always have the resources to work. And when you go to court one and you are not satisfied, you go to the next one and finally go to a Supreme Court. Okay. And we have the same thing. When it is at the Traditional Council, we are not satisfied, you go to the Regional House of Chiefs and then to National House of Chiefs, and if possible, even to the Supreme Court. Okay. So, yeah, if you get the resources, everything will be all right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nana.
My pleasure.
For coming.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Ojiahohoya Ojibi II is the president of the National House of Chiefs and is also the paramount chief at Ariaso traditional area. Well, that has been it, the extended version of the AM show. Thank you for being a part of us, but we'll take it.